That would be hard. But I think they would. Right. And Dan Williams will be coming at it from the same perspective I will, for both military and control of operations.
Grace. I don't know if I'm on. I clicked the button, but I kind of lost.
No, I think it's Jack. Oh, so no, Winner saved. Save it in bookmarks.
I did. I just sent it over and see the cache. I thought I put it under that's what I just put on the
Okay, yeah, that's nice. Maybe it's under the other one. Accident. The agendas. Yeah.
Rob, excuse me, Rob. I've just joined the Zoom meeting. Could you promote me to think?
Okay.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order this evening. Thank you for joining us. Michael, if we could do roll call, please.
Sure. So a quick disclaimer for folks, the city clerk, LeClaire, is out of town on some emergency matter. And so the rest of the team will be trying to fill in for her. It takes 4 of us. So your patience is appreciated. So let's see, Mayor Labar, Mayor Pro Tem Case.
Here.
Councilmember Alfieri.
Here.
Councilmember Nakai.
Here.
Councilmember Neal.
Here.
Councilmember Zuluaga.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, if everyone would join in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. America, we love you. Yay.
All right. We'll start with item 3, ceremonies, presentations, and appointments. Item A is appointment to the Historical Preservation Committee. And I will defer to the city manager, I believe.
Yes, so we do have an application from Miss Linda Allred. Is Ms. Allred here? Hi there. Would you mind coming up to the podium here? Thank you. And so council, you should have Ms. Allred's application for the commission here, or the committee, excuse me, in your packet. So I will turn it over to you if there's questions from Ms. Allred.
I don't have any.
Elevator pitch. I'd like to hear from you.
Thank you. If you could just take a moment and just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and why you're interested in joining the Historic Preservation Committee.
I have been in Woodland Park since 1991. I'm a licensed architect, graduated from Ohio State University, Colorado and Hawaii, and much of my career since I graduated. I have had the pleasure of working on quite a few historic renovations and restorations, and I've always been very interested in it. And after my boys got out of Boy Scouting, I pretty much stopped volunteering. So this is my first opportunity to work again in a volunteer capacity, and I'm looking forward to doing that.
Thank you. Council questions?
No questions, but I will point out that Linda has been attending HPC meetings regularly.
Excellent. Robert, I know you have some.
Thank you for applying. There's a question on the application that says, what's your opinion are the 3 most pressing issues facing the city?
And you say Woodland Park's become very politically divisive. I'd love to see us come together in the future. Woodland Park has become very expensive place to live. You talk about some personal things and then say it breaks your heart that young families just starting out find it nearly impossible to find affordable housing. So can you comment on those observations in regard to the historical preservation position you're applying for? Or if there's something different, that's okay too. I just.
You know, I think political divisiveness is pretty much rampant across the country. So volunteering is my attempt to just participate and have my voice heard and hearing other people's voices. I don't know how affordable housing fits into the Historic Preservation Committee. It's just, I think, something that everybody should be considering that's a resident and a member of this community. And what was the other one?
Well, I guess my question would be, what's your vision, or what's your hope as far as historical preservation? If you've been going to some of the meetings, what are you seeing? What's sparking your interest to preserve stuff like that?
Well, I've always been interested in preserving, but being as a member of this community for as long as I've been, without participating in these meetings, I would be completely unaware of some of the history that surrounds us here. And I've already been blown away by the things that I've learned in the meetings and the historic presence in this town. And I would like very much for more people to know the things that I've learned just in the 2 meetings that I've attended. It's pretty fascinating what's going on here and the history that's in this community. I'd like to be able to share that, I guess, with other people.
Thank you.
Anything else, council? Thank you, Ms. Allred. Council, I'll be looking for a motion or discussion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Linda Allred to the Historical Preservation Committee.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, Alfieri,
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Zulawaga.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
There you are.
Thank you.
Unanimously.
Congratulations. Thank
So
you.
would council be okay if we administer the oath of office now?
Absolutely.
Trying to do my best Suzanne impression.
Your hair is awfully short.
Long Island. Long Island accent. Ms. Allred, would you mind coming up and we'll administer the oath of office here? Long Island.
Now you get a vote at the meetings.
So, you mind raising your right hand? You can say,
Yeah.
I, Allred,
I thought you-
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Colorado, the charter and ordinances of the city of Woodland Park, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of committee member for the Historical Preservation Committee, on which I'm about to. That's
Right there.
you can see.
Sorry.
All right, so we will see.
Congratulations. Thank you for your volunteerism. All right, item 3B is acknowledgement and thank you to John DeVoe for his 20 years of service as a volunteer to the city of Woodland Park. And our presenter will be Catherine Nakai.
Hi. John, did you want to come up or are you going to hide?
Mr. Zalaga,
Uh-oh.
historical preservation is living another 10 years.
Very good.
So John resigned from Planning Commission after 9 years in January of this year. And as long as I've lived in Woodland Park, which has been 20 years, John has been a staple for me when it comes to anything in the city. So I just wanted to thank him and tell you everything he's actually done behind the scenes and some in front of the scenes. So he served 9 years on city council from 2003 to 2012, where he was appointed to fill out a term and then was elected twice. He also was mayor pro tem, I believe, towards the end. I can't remember the years. He was on the committee to form the DDA and was also a DDA board member until December of 2012. He took an active part in both the 2010 and the 2030 comp plans. And if I'm not mistaken, you helped with the master plan as well?
Yes.
In 1999. John will continue, I believe, to serve our community on the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments as a community advisory committee member. And then Lois, we would also like to thank you for allowing John to serve the city for 20 plus years. And we have a challenge coin that we would like to present you, John, for your dedication to our community.
Can I say a few words?
Absolutely.
In September of 2020, that was the opening of the Olympics in Sydney. It was also the very first organizational meeting of the DDA held at Eagle Fire, in which we had the former mayor that formed that, city manager, excuse me. And that's when we formed that. A year from then, we had an election. Since that time, the DDA, through its good times and bad times and whatever you want to say, put $30 million worth of assets in this community. And that's really what took place with no losses. And that was the important thing. Our very first meeting went to Greeley to find out how not to do it, since they had a $2 million loss when they redid a building up there. And since that time, it's been Tractor Supply and the hardware store, and it just keeps going on and on. We're kind of running out of land a little bit, but it's been a good thing with a few bumps here and there, especially the economy back in 2007, back in that era. So that's been really interesting to watch that grow. We've had good consuls. We've had other consuls that probably weren't as good. That's okay. But that's what it's all about. I think your job is to leave a mark. You're not going to get rich doing this. You're not going to, you're a power of one, because without other votes, it don't go anywhere anyway. And you just got to work on that. Make this city better. Do something while you're here. Get along with everybody, but work out something that you're not adversarial. You sit down and you try to do what's best for our community. And when you're not always all going to agree on it, we never did, but we didn't get angry with each other. We go over and have a beer after the meeting was over, but we didn't talk shop because you can't do that. But it was different times back then. But make your mark. Do something that you can be remembered by, that you can hang your hat on and say, I really helped make that better when I was there. Funny story. At one time, Steve Randolph said, I'm not going to run for mayor. I'm just going to have everybody elected. I'm not going to even run a campaign. So I registered to run for mayor because I wanted, this town was big enough to have an election. Well, he beat me by 100 votes, but he ran a campaign and we got an election and we did because we deserve that. The people here deserve that. And you people deserve that, to do that. And it's been a good ride. I'm still on PPACG down in the Springs, starting in 2024, the $10 million project for Highway 67 to finish all that drainage and widen that. We're number 4 on the list of 4 projects. So that should be starting, and that's already committed in that, and the money's committed to do that. So that means traffic will get a little tough out there in 24, but that's going to be an eyesore that goes away. And that'll be good for all of us when that happens. And that's about all I had to say. Any questions?
Thanks, John.
I have one for you, John.
Yes, sir.
Well, we are starting to lose rapidly institutional memory, I think is how Michael termed it, with the loss of Sally Riley and now yourself. So in that loss, what's your sight for those who are going to step into those shoes that won't have the same depth of history that you had, or that you have, and that, of course, Sally had?
Don't be afraid to talk to those people. Seek them out, whether it's me or whoever it is. We've probably tried it before and it either worked or it didn't work. Okay?
Yeah.
And you'll find a lot of that has gone on in the last one. And there's no sense reinventing the wheel unless you can make it better, and that's fine to do that. And it's just, you got to get along with everybody. You just got to do that because the press will have a field day if you don't. We've all seen it.
So is it fair to say that you'll work on the historical preservation aspect of it if I've got questions for you?
Yeah, myself first, but I'll be glad to do that. Stop by any time. You stopped and saw me when you first started to run.
Yes.
I remember you coming in the store.
Yeah.
And John, I'm not going to let you get away without complimenting you on something and letting the citizens know just what kind of a person you are. Unknowns to most citizens in Woodland Park, when I decided to run for election, John actually did not support myself as a candidate. And I didn't know why. So I went over to John to just talk to him, find out why. To let you know what kind of a man this guy is, he spent an hour and a half with me and we were up front. He said what he had heard I was running to do. We had a good conversation about that, and that lasted, I don't know, a few minutes, 30 minutes, maybe max out of the hour and a half. The rest of the time, John sat there and guided me. He sat there and gave me recommendations on how to run a campaign, how to be a candidate, how to be a council member. John, who's campaigning actually against me, did nothing but help me. He put the city first because we didn't know what the outcome would be. But John, I have to say, thank you for your service. You have put your actions match your words. Get along, find a compromise, and thank you for your service and thank you for the advice you've given to
And
me.
we all should do that. Everyone
Yes.
should do that. Thank you. Where am I going?
He doesn't get the flowers.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, for honoring John. And thank you, John and Lois. All right, next we have on Zoom with us this evening. 3C is the confirmation of our new police chief for the city of Woodland Park. His name is Chris Daisler. So Rob, if you could bring him in with us, please.
Can anybody hear me?
There you are.
Yeah.
Good evening,
Here we
sir.
are. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good, thank you.
And if I can just lead it off here, give some context over who Mr. Daisler is. Back, I believe it was in September, we started a national recruitment process and brought in a recruiter, did a nationwide search and did some public involvement. We had a town hall and went through multiple interview processes, which were no fun. I'm just glad I was not on the other side of the table. And so the community was very much a part of this process. And at the end, we selected Mr. Daisler. I'll let Chris talk a little bit about himself, but Chris brings a great energy and vision, and we're excited to have him join us. And so as the council knows, per the charter, the city manager essentially nominates several positions in the city, and the council has to confirm that selection. Police chief is one of those. So for tonight, I'm looking for a confirmation vote of Mr. Daisler to finish the appointment process. But I'll turn it over to Chris if you'd like to say a few words about himself.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Lawson. First, I'd like to say it's absolutely a pleasure to be here with all of you. For those of you who I've interacted with before, it's nice to see you again. I hope that Ms. LeClaire is not dealing with anything too serious, but since there's been a tone of humor involved, Mr. Lawson, you're doing a great job. But from what I remember, someone is responsible for distributing chocolates to the members of the council when she's not there. So hopefully that got done, but if it didn't, we'll work on that.
Didn't want
Anyway,
to get done. But thank you for thinking of us.
You
didn't
don't miss
bring me
much, do you,
chocolate
Chris?
Councilmember Zuluaga, I think I tried to hammer that point home with you when I met you, but yeah, nonetheless, there's a bit of humor involved there, but I think it's important just to mention that those are some of the things that I really try to pay close attention to, is kind of what makes the dynamic work. But nonetheless, I'll start by saying it's absolutely a pleasure to be here with all of you. I'd like to say first, thank you for any member of the community who's tuning in, any member of the police department that may be present or listening, anybody who I've interacted with or perhaps had the pleasure of meeting during this process. Thank you all for being involved enough to come and allow me to be with you, at least in this kind of a forum. I wish I could be there with you right now, but between getting ready to move this house and come out there and hopefully join you all real soon, things are kind of hectic, but we're going to make it work. And I'm thrilled to be here on behalf of my wife and my daughter. Thank you very much for having me. As Mr. Lawson said, I am 30-year veteran of my agency. I started working for the City of Winter Springs Police Department when I was 19. I jokingly say I could not buy ammunition legally or buy alcoholic beverages legally, but yet I was given the fortune to follow my father's footsteps and chase my dream of becoming a law enforcement officer. So I'm a second generation. He did 44 years in the business total. He was a big city cop. I was following him, but I've been in small town law enforcement my entire career. I will tell you that if you would have asked me back in '92 how fast 30 years would have gone by, I would have told you there's no way I would be sitting here in front of you looking down the barrel of retiring from a city that I absolutely love. the things that we've been able to do here and the work ethic and environment that we built here, I like to think is second to none. We've done a lot of great things here, and quite honestly, leaving my folks here will be one of the hardest things that I've had to do in my professional career. There is a bright side though, and the bright side is that throughout this process, I have been given the opportunity and the privilege to sit here before you tonight with the hopes of being confirmed as your next chief of police. And I will tell you that it gives me a good feeling inside to be able to continue to bring the energy that I have and the love I have for my folks to all of you, and perhaps infuse some of that within the agency there. It's going to be an absolutely a great time. We're going to work together to keep moving the agency forward and form a vision that suits the needs of the community, and working together with all of them. The process has been absolutely fantastic. All of the honorable members of the council should be absolutely pleased with the way this process played out. It has been absolutely wonderful from start to finish. So I would just like to give a personal note of thanks to everybody who took part in that, because it was really a very seamless and a very pleasant process, if I have to say so. During that process, I had the ability to meet a couple of folks who work for the police department, and I have to say, they made a very, very favorable impression upon me. I am an energetic guy, and I will tell you that I make no apologies for that, but it's important to understand that my energy comes from strictly my love of what I do. I will tell you that most people at this juncture in their career after 30 years are oftentimes looking to get out of this line of work and pursue something in a different area, in a different sector. Contrarily, my fire for what I do is still alive and well and burning as hard as it did years ago. And I'm not done. So I'm happy to be here in front of you all with the ability to come and work side by side with your community. I've talked to many members of the community already throughout my research and doing some different things to get prepared for this opportunity. As I've mentioned to Mr. Lawson and a few of the folks who are there, I am Italian despite my last name, so I will talk forever if you give me the forum, but I realize it's going to be late soon, at least here. But I really am just trying to hammer home the point that I'm ecstatic to be here. This is absolutely a dream for me coming true. Not every Floridian wants to retire here, I can assure you. My parents are both Pittsburghers, so I grew up with Pittsburgh blood. I absolutely love the cold. I'm a cold weather guy. I don't know, maybe that'll change in a month, who knows? But we're excited for the opportunity. And to be honest with you, I'm here for you. I'd like to be able to at least put myself in front of you all and have you engage me in any way that you seem necessary. So with that, I'm here for you.
Thank you, sir.
You bet, man.
Council, do you have any questions for Chris? Robert does.
Chris, I can't help but notice the stadium behind you, and it's my experience people put what's important to them on their wall. So could you tell us the story of what that represents for you?
I can actually. That's the memory of a Florida State Seminoles fan who hasn't won a championship since '99. Next question. That actually was a gift. It was a gift to me back in '99 when the Seminoles won the championship over the Virginia Tech Hokies. That was a time where I was probably more connected with college ball. Right now, I'm more connected with pro ball. If I had to pick the two, as I mentioned, I do have Pittsburgh blood, but even they make me shake my head. So, everybody says to me, what are they going to do this year? My patented answer is 8-8. I figure 50% I'm hitting pretty good. So.
Well, I sure hope we meet your expectations. We have a Meadowwood Park that's got a skating rink in it.
I noticed. Yeah, I did. Yeah, sir, with no disrespect to your question, I will tell you that most people my size are prone to just lifting things up. I don't like to do anything that requires center of gravity or balance. So I'll stick to the easy stuff.
Council, anything else?
I have no other questions. Thank you.
No. Thank you. So I will look for a motion from the council to confirm our new police chief, Chris Daisler.
I will make that motion. I make a motion. We don't have it up, do we, Grace? Are we going to put a voting thing up there?
Yeah.
I make a motion to confirm the new police chief for the city of Woodland Park, Chris
Daisler.
Geisler. Sorry, Chris. The
All right,
E
so-
before the I has got me messed up.
It's that funny German, I understand.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Thank you, Council Robert. Michael, would you call the roll?
Well,
Just one
But
second.
she's gonna do.
Oh,
both.
you're gonna do civic?
I was a
Good
little
girl.
zealous and wanting to do it, call it out. Forgot the chocolate to hand vote. Please
I'm
find
in
some
trouble.
alcohol.
I'm in trouble already.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you second?
Oh,
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Council.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you
See you in a
very
while.
much, everybody. I appreciate it. Just if I can, real quick, before we move on to the next topic. Those of you who are proud members of the Woodland Park Police Department, I can assure you that we're gonna have a great time. Just give us some time to get to know one another, give us some time to find that mutual ground. Get to know me. I've been in your shoes. I understand what it's like to have a new boss coming in from out of town. I lived through that as a young officer. I think I mentioned that in my department meeting I had with all of you. But I'm excited. I'm ready to come out there and work side by side with you for the cause of the greater good, and I couldn't be happier. So thank you all very much.
Chris, when will you actually relocate out here?
So we're in the process of doing that now. The timeline that I have scheduled, and we just locked down a mover today, is I am trying to take residents there on the 24th of March with the intention of starting on the 28th. I'm hoping that there aren't any major weather systems that set us back as we make the trek west. But that's always a possibility. But that's my timeline that Mr. Lawson and I have discussed.
Thank you very much.
And Chris, this is Michael.
Yes,
I
sir.
would encourage you to, if you can, stick around for the next item. Although I know it's 9:30 over there, but if you can stay awake for a little bit longer, I would
Yeah, we'll do it.
encourage you to stick around.
You bet.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Looking forward to meeting every one of you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll move on to item 3D, presentation of the 911 dispatch consolidation study. And we have Bonnie Mamie with Mission Critical Partners. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Chief Daisler, congratulations. Go Knowles, I will say.
We have one in the room. Fantastic.
And you're relocating to an absolutely beautiful place. I've had the pleasure of working with El Paso Teller County 911 Authority as part of Mission Critical Partners and the beautiful people of Teller County now since about 2015, I think, Carl, we've been partners. And have the opportunity to come up here many times over the years, and the area and the region is absolutely beautiful. So Chief Daisler, you've made a wonderful, awesome choice, and I think they're going to have great leadership coming from being that you're a Knoll. So, just saying. Keeping
We're
that-
off on the right
humor.
foot. Thank you very much, ma'am.
So great, thank you for the presentation. So to kind of get this started, this project has been going on for about a year, and we're going to run through a presentation that has been provided in December. It was provided to the Teller County Commissioners. Presented it to Woodland Park at the police department with the then interim chief and Mr. Lawson, several representatives from the fire and EMS community. It was also presented discussion with Cripple Creek city manager and their police chief as well. And so now is an opportunity to provide this presentation to you. Those sessions were about 2 hours long, but I'm going to keep this to 30 minutes if absolutely possible. So we can move right along to the next slide, please. And just quick agenda, how we are going to run through some quick introductions, project overview, discussion, and then some next steps. On the next slide is an example of our expanding emergency communications ecosystem, which is why this project is so incredibly important, not just here in Teller County, but across the whole entire country, where communities are coming together to help manage this ecosystem from small, independent individual islands to a larger, more sustainable, more efficient, more, in many ways, more effective ecosystem, more resilient, if you will. Back in the day on the left-hand side, it was really simple. You made a telephone call from the landline, maybe a fire call box. It went into a dispatch center. They used push to talk on a public safety communications radio system to send it to police, fire, EMS, and they showed up. Well, it's not so simple anymore. You've got all types of devices that you can see on the left. Internet of Things, your Apple Watch, if anybody is wearing one. You have cell phones, text to 911, voice over IP. All of these devices are capable of sending or bringing an location of an emergency into a dispatch center. And it's not a clerical position anymore. These are highly skilled individuals, typically called telecommunicators in the profession now. They are using multiple screens. Probably if you were to go into yours, you probably have maybe 6 screens at one workstation. They're multitasking, doing a variety of things. And not only is it not just push to talk on a radio anymore, they can send it out to a mobile data terminal. They can send out to a push to talk on a handheld smartphone. Variety of ways to get information, and not just to police, fire, and EMS. You also now have in July of this next year, FCC has said that 988 is going to take effect, which is the replacement or the enhancement to the suicide hotline for individuals and for veterans. So this is now another discipline, if you will, that they may have to dispatch for and figure out how to integrate that. And then all the partner agencies and entities on the left, on the right, sorry, that they interact with every day for mutual aid, hospitals, emergency departments, criminal justice utilities. This is all being coordinated in those command control systems that we call public safety answering points. If you would, please. So we missed the slide. There we go. Why are we here? Why was MCP asked to come and assist? So we conducted an independent regional efficiency study. I know it's been coined now as a consolidation study, but we really were looking for regional efficiencies in the areas of operations, capital, ongoing costs. If there are ideas of cost sharing models, were there ways to bring efficiencies technology-wise? But at this point, we're at the oral presentation to actually present the bits and parts and pieces of recommendations of our report. Now on to the next one. This project was divided into 4 phases. The first one was stakeholder engagement, where we sat with stakeholders independently in each of the 3 municipalities, or 2 municipalities in the county. And we talked to police, fire, telecommunicators, trainers. We talked to actually even the citizens came. You did have one citizen that did come to the Woodland Park session to find out what they felt could be the advantages of regionalization as well as their concerns. Then phase 2, we actually did the study itself. Then we re-engaged everybody again in different focus groups and sessions and interviews. And we took all of that information and we put it into the report, which is what has been presented now as the deliverable to that. And doing this presentation. There is a 3rd phase, which is actually conditional as well. And admittedly, we did not title this very well in the original scope of work. At a point in time, we write things out. We really should have called this 3rd phase regionalization, impact analysis, cost planning, not an implementation plan. Because we really presented to you a report that had our professional opinions in it about what we've seen. But this next phase at this point, we're not asking for anybody's commitments to consolidate, to implement, or to regionalize in any way. What we're really asking is for the consideration to participate in the next phase, which really is about getting to a more granular level on the impact costs for each municipality and for the county, rather than the ROM, the rough order of magnitude that was provided in the report, okay? So and I know a lot of people, that's caused a lot of angst, and that, well, this is the only way and what it should be. That report is our professional opinion on the most efficiencies that could be gained. There are other opportunities, though, which we may uncover and discuss collaboratively in phase 3. So those next 3, the anticipated outcomes are really established around individual impact costs, which I meant, governance of shared systems, resources, policies, procedures, training, human resources, operations, those types of areas. But every one of those decisions to have a cost to them. So we want to get down to that granular level of what would that mean to Woodland Park. Right, next slide, please. Methodology, I already did mention about the initial engagement or stakeholder engagement and us coming back to do then a more in-depth understanding, a lot of observation. Each agency was very helpful along with the authority for providing us all types of information, loads and loads of information. And we took that and we did base that and analyze that against industry standards and best practices for a baseline. And basically what that showed us was, what's the current state look like? And we looked at all of those areas that you see on the right-hand side. What came out of, you could, the next one?
Can you
One
go
of the
back
things
just for a
that's very
second?
important to us.
Can you go back to that slide just for a
Yes,
second?
sir, sure. Yes, sir. And we will provide a copy of this in a PDF format that Mr. Lawson can distribute afterwards as well.
Thanks.
Okay, so yeah, because I know I'm whizzing through this, so I want you guys to be able to digest it, more after. All right, next one again, please. When mission critical partners, when we do assessments of any kind, it's really important to us to understand what does success mean to the stakeholders. And so in each of those initial stakeholder engagements, we actually asked this question. And these were the themes that came out as the project. What is it important to get out of this? And so a lot of these you'll see is unbiased assessments, ability to make informed decisions. I won't read through all of them. I'll let you digest that while I kind of talk here. But what we heard was that this has been tried. We've discussed this over and over and over the years. So can we just get some answers, get some facts to be able to make an informed decision that's not based on anecdotal information? And that's what we attempt to do in this second phase of this report, is provide some facts on current state and then a look at the future, kind of defining why consolidation or why regionalization would be a good thing. And then in the next phase is explore how that would happen. So answer the why and then go to the how. We could, please. All right, so that just kind of gets us all on the same page. And like I said, initially these were 2-hour sessions. I'm really going to try to, again, be conscientious of the time here. And what we want to do now is just kind of step through those areas that we saw on the right and just show some highlights of the bullet points that we related to each that you'll see in the report. And we've highlighted some of them in red, which we feel are actually kind of the most important to know. You would? All right, so governance and organizational structure. One of the things here that we like to kind of look at was focusing on what could be gained rather than what could be lost in a consolidation or a regionalization. This is very common. People start focusing on what they could lose in a consolidation rather than what could be gained. And there's a lot to be gained. Another thing on here that we heard very clearly was the need for this to be an independent entity. Now, we did, for reasons of economy of scale, the recommendation that we made regarding that it be a part of the county, not necessarily overseen by the sheriff, but part of the county organization is really for means of economy to handle those overhead things like human resources, legal issues, all that kind of thing. So that stuff would be taken care of, but that it did need to be some sort of an independent entity. If we could next. Operations, this piece is absolutely huge. And if you haven't been to the Teller County Sheriff's Office Dispatch Center. That's one of the pictures of it there on the right-hand side. So it's important to highlight here that the intent of the regionalization report was based on our findings to articulate where inefficiencies exist in the current state. And then again, our professional opinion on why we found that the county, Cripple Creek and Woodland Park residents would see the most significant efficiencies if the PSAPs were come together into a consolidated single facility. In this case, we saw that there were opportunities to improve service and emergency response, especially in those cases where there's one dispatcher on duty. And that is typical across all 3 municipalities or 2 municipalities in the county. So all 3 entities. There, I don't know if you've been into your centers, but 1 dispatcher on duty typically. Sometimes there's 2, but it's typically 1. That's a great, huge risk. You imagine you're sitting there and you're answering a 911 call, and let's say it's somebody having a heart attack. You're answering them, you're trying to emergency medical dispatch them, dispatch fire and EMS or to there as well. Well, let's say then that you get another call. Do you stop giving CPR instructions? Well, then you have an officer asking for assistance because there's been a crash. This person, single individual, is doing these things all at the same time by themselves, cannot get up to go to the bathroom, anything like that. That's a huge risk. There is also this thing with transfers. You have agencies that they have CAD to CAD, but they are not using it efficiently. They will still transfer a call that maybe come in because of a cell phone misroute and transfer that call to another agency. Really, they could actually do CAD to CAD, just enter that call, build it, and send it to the other. We find with call transfers, especially when emergency medical dispatch is involved, it can add anywhere from 30 to 90 seconds to a call. That's a lot of time. Now, we do know that all 3 PSAPs have what we call ancillary non-core duties. Core duties are answering 911 calls, dispatching resources, and analyzing data. These non-core duties is, I think, where a big amount of the crux here comes in on what do those cost? What does it cost if anybody were to come together into a single facility? What would it cost to replace that walk-up window individual, right? What would it cost to have somebody do records that maybe some of their telecommunicators are doing records functions as well? So what would those 2nd and 3rd impact level costs be? That's what phase 3 is supposed to start looking at. We also know that there's CCTV on the monitoring the jails. What would it cost for that technology to be transferred over there? Those are the costs that we want to get down into a more granular level in this phase 3. And then we know that fire and EMS response is complicated. Right now, they're having to answer 2 radios or answer to 2 dispatch centers, right? And I heard at the fire chiefs meetings this morning how that is such a challenge. And then the communications meeting after that, committee meeting, how they're having to put language in front of all of their transmissions to know who they're talking to, which can get very complicated when you're on a chaotic, fire scene or, especially with multiple units there. And then we did receive field personnel and citizens feedback. Their primary concern when we talked to them was that they just want the quickest emergency response possible. It really didn't come across any concern of where that facility was located, whether it was in their municipality or not. They just wanted to get the police, fire, and EMS to their emergency as quickly as possible. Next one, please. I mentioned about this thing with 1 telecommunicator on duty at a time. Right now, between each of the 3 PSAPs, public safety answering points, there's 28 telecommunicators. Right now, and I mentioned maybe 1 on duty at a time. They're all experiencing short staff, except I think Woodland Park, they only have one opening at the moment. But with that combined workforce of 28, and our recommendation is actually combined workforce of 28 max. But that would provide 4 staff on duty on days and 3 on duty at night. That would give 2 law enforcement telecommunicators, one, to cover the 2 radios themselves, 1 fire EMS channel, and a dedicated call taker. All right, which right now, again, remember we talked, there's sometimes 1 on duty at a night. Right now, they're experiencing about 20 to 30% turnover. Again, nationwide, COVID has not helped. Hiring and retention challenges at each agency. Right now, they're all feeding out of the same recruiting pool. So imagine if you could get that all into one recruiting pool. And again, that would reduce the liability exposure and reduce that recruiting competition. Next one, please. Training. This is one of the places that everybody excels, is in training. The authority has provided great resources when it comes to training. Emergency medical dispatch, emergency fire dispatch, emergency police dispatch. If you don't know what those are a set of nationally recognized protocols that give them scripted questions to ask to make sure that they get the best response to you and provide that 0 response time for medical emergencies. Cripple Creek, they're an accredited center of excellence in emergency medical dispatch. That's a great title to have, and actually they're recognized as the smallest agency in the world to have that accreditation. Here's the thing, this is one of those things that could be gained. Why not bring that center of excellence into all residents of Teller County, Woodland Park included, of course, right? There's criteria that have to be met, but one of the agencies have already met it. Why not bring that to everyone? And so, they all have training officers, they all have continuing dispatch education, they've all subscribed to higher levels of meeting national training standards. And again, this is across the entire county. Next, please. Quality assurance and performance management. This is something you all don't technically really need to worry about because all QA of calls is provided by the authority. No cost there. You could again, please. Leadership and planning. The highlight here is really the disconnect. And we see this again nationwide when we do these studies. And that's that looking at that, not understanding or really getting the risk exposure, both operationally with the one telecommunicator, and then what that means to that telecommunicator's health and wellness. There has been a nationwide effort to get them recognized at the federal level as first responders, because they are the true first responder. It has not been successful yet, but many states are taking it upon themselves to recognize them as first responders. And there's a recognition now of PTS, post-traumatic stress, PTS, impacting our telecommunicators with everything that they see and hear and the stress of all the overtime that is taking place here as well. Next one, please. We want to make sure that across the board, that there is, if whatever regionalization takes place, if it takes place, that all the leadership has expressed they want their staff taken care of. And that is, of utmost importance. And, their contribution, I can't tell you what we have seen here in Teller County between Teller County Sheriff's Office, Woodland Park, and Cripple Creek. I mean, your staffs are amazing. Your telecommunicators are absolutely phenomenal. So hats off to them. They're very lucky. You guys are very lucky to have them in the seats. Something else that happens with these smaller pods of PSAPs too is career paths and leadership development, including succession planning, is seriously constrained. If anybody wants to have a career path of leadership, you have telecommunicator, maybe 1, 2 small steps, but to get to an actual be a supervisor or a manager of your own center, that's really difficult to do in any of these centers. So career paths, leadership development is challenging. And then this one here, the authority, they do receive significant financial support. It equals approximately $712,250 annually. That is the combination, countywide of the $25,000 per telecommunicator stipend that is provided by the authority. Next one. Technology, another area. So we always look to see if we can consolidate technology-wise. And that's a challenge. There's really not a lot to do here, again, because the authority has been done a really good job managing your all's 911 funds. And you have every PSAP has the same call handling equipment, same CAD, same logger recorder. We realized yesterday everything is transitioned with the 800 megahertz radio system, so is the fire department. But everything for technology wise for those mission critical systems is in place to support regionalization in one center if you were to want to do that. Next slide. Facility. This is one of the places that usually is a huge expense and a showstopper besides the radio system. The facility is usually a huge showstopper because they're expensive. A public safety grade building can cost tens of millions of dollars. Woodland Park Police Department facility is built out. It could add workstations if walls were removed to incorporate, a small portion of the lobby. But it's really not large enough to accommodate a regionalized dispatch on a daily basis. Could be maintained potentially for a short-term backup before deploying to the authority and their extensive, backup facility that they have down there. But as of June of this year, they moved, TCSO moved into their new state-of-the-art facility, which actually did happen to come about because of a PSAP study that we did for Teller County back in, I think, 2017, when we went through there and saw the state of their center. And so they ended up building it, and they needed a new police department. So that that kind of came about as part of that. But we did look at each of them to see what could be used and where it could go if it were to come about. But this is just a huge cost savings that you wouldn't have to worry about.
Can you talk to the last clause in the second bullet, please? The words "before deploying to the authority." What does that mean, please?
So the El Paso Teller 911 authority down in Colorado Springs has a backup facility. How many seats is it, Carl? 34 seat backup facility. So if something were to happen here, and I know they've used it for planned events, equipment upgrades and those kind of things. But if there was something, a fire or something coming through, everybody could pick up and go down to the authority and have exactly all the same equipment and everything that they needed to function. Continue to take 911 calls, continue to dispatch. Okay, please. So that kind of brings us to what we found for the current state, and it really formed the basis of our future direction, which again, it is our professional opinion. This is a set of recommendations. Does it mean you have to take our recommendations? No, it does not. But we hope that it would set you on a path, even in some way, shape, or form, to move the needle to correct some of these risks that we found that there, could improve the emergency response outcomes for the residents and the visitors, not only to Woodland Park, but to wherever in the county your employees and your staff and your friends and relatives live. So we found that the most efficient and effective, or the most efficiencies could be improved, like I mentioned before, by all three of them coming together. This does not mean that it is desired by any or all of the municipalities. Again, it's our professional opinion. This does not mean that there are not other ways to move the needle to improve the emergency response outcomes. What that could look like and the operational cost impacts associated with our recommendation or a combination of alternatives will be the focus of the next phase beyond the ROM that we already provided. Next slide, please. We did do a preliminary cost analysis and it's not highlighted on here in red. But that third bullet, like I mentioned, you don't need to build a new facility, but that third bullet, there are costs, in your 911 surcharge. And right now, if you, I said there was like 28 telecommunicators, there's also individual workstation consoles at each of those facilities that the authority is paying for. And so if you, right now, there's the 8 consoles at the Teller County Sheriff's Office, you would eliminate the cost of the authority for the consoles at those other 2 PSAPs, Woodland Park and Cripple Creek. So it reduces the cost, which allows potentially that the surcharge fee may not need to be raised. Now, again, sometimes that's a moving target. There's all kinds of things always interacting with that. But at the point in time when we were looking at it, that was a possibility of that rate being raised for another year with all the connecting fees and the workstation fees that would be able to be eliminated because they wouldn't be duplicated. Okay, next one, please. So give you a really quick idea. Now, this slide I know is way out of date because Woodland Park, Cripple Creek, Teller County Sheriff's Office, they took some of our, when we started talking about salaries, every one of you all have increased your telecommunicators pays. We understand that the Sheriff's Office had added 5 new positions. You all have added, I believe, 1 new position you just really recently authorized. And that is to be commended because those are the types of things that need to happen. But when we did this, Woodland Park was actually the highest paid of the telecommunicators, assistant supervisor and such. But I believe, and I don't know that's been posted, but my understanding is that Teller County is that's going to change. So that impacts our numbers. We have a lot of recalculating to do. But besides the fact, if you go to the next slide, please. This was the breakdown that we were talking about. This helped us start getting to a net operating costs. So we gave 2 options, 17.5 telecommunicators, 21.5 if you had counted for attrition. And 4 supervisors and a director, and then 2 future support positions of an operations manager and a training and QA manager. What that gave you was our total base salaries. Next slide, please. And then into this one, we calculated the $25,000 annual per telecommunicator, $12,500 per supervisor, director, and future support positions, and calculated in a gaming fee of $9,375, which is that second to the end of on the left, or sorry, on the right, where it says 509,000 or 534,000. To give you guys a net operating budget in a consolidated environment, again, as a ROM, 1.1 or 1.3 million. Next slide. That's for 20, that was for 17.5. This is what it would look like for the 21.5. If you had, to account for attrition. Remember I said you have 28, full-time equivalents countywide at this point. And that 21.5 plus the administrative position, that gives you 28. Now, here's the thing. You all have added 1, Sheriff's Office had added 5. That now puts us at 35 positions. So there's more positions and not all of the positions are even filled. So you're budgeted for them, but they're not filled. So you wouldn't even need to bring over all the positions potentially. Again, we need to rework the numbers. We need to get that more granular level now. Next slide, please. So when we look at things, we looked at population based, we looked at activity based. It's kind of, population based is kind of hard to work with because you have communities like Woodland Park that, have a unique type of community. There's a lot of hiking and there's a lot of this, there's a lot of things going on. It might not be representative of actually your population because you have so many, visitors coming here. Activity based as well. That's really sometimes a lot of moving target depending on You know, some municipalities have law enforcement and fire going to every single call. Others, you know, there's some challenges there. So we looked at a resource base, and just for the ROM purposes, again, for Woodland Park, it would look like it would be a decrease in operating costs of $49,000. Now, this next phase also needs to look at any hidden costs. Anything that could be hiding in there is hidden impact costs. This again is a ROM, but that is what we initially have come up with. Whew. All right, to wrap this up for you. Next steps. All right, so next steps. We have bi-weekly project core team meetings, and I hope you appreciate the graphic there on the right-hand side. Sometimes it's just, we want to make sense of all the craziness there. We continue to have bi-weekly project core meetings every Thursday. The next one is Thursday, the 24th, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Hillary was participating, I believe, at one point. Michael, you've been participating more recently. We want to also, built into our scope of work, we want to discuss, and I discussed this with Carl earlier too, executing a change in scope. I'm not sure if it has to be authorized by the authority or not, but we want to change the name of phase 3 to be more consistent with what we're trying to accomplish, and refine that scope so that we are talking more, again, refining what is it we're really trying to get out of phase 3. It's not an implementation plan, right? It's to help you identify those impact costs, to really get down to what does it mean to Woodland Park, what are your costs, and provide you with those facts to make a decision. And then we would come up with a regionalization impact analysis, a cost report of some sort. And that is what I have. Any questions that you may have for me, I'll gladly entertain.
Council, anything?
I guess I'll start off by saying, I don't know where to place my anger.
Don't give it to me.
Hopefully not me.
The agenda says we were going to have a presentation. This is a decision, kind of a briefing where we're going to be voting on something.
You
We
definitely
know-
don't
we-
need to do that today.
Okay, that's good to hear. The citizens need to know that the council members meet 2 at a time. I meet with Kelly and the city manager so that we never break the open rule or the open records, open meeting laws. We were never pre-briefed that this was going to be a voted on topic in our meeting last Wednesday. So when I scanned through the agendas, looking for things to spend my time getting ready for this, a presentation with no advance warning, hey, this, you need to read this. It's more than just a presentation. I'm absolutely being blindsided on this one, in my opinion. So I apologize to the citizens that I haven't spent any time diving into this 50-page document or 25-page document. I'm 80-page document. I'm reading as fast as I can as you're presenting, Bonnie.
Yeah.
And I think that the second thing that bothers me is the person that participated, our mayor, isn't here to provide comment. And we've just confirmed a police chief that we've just hired. He's not here to engage in it. We have no, I mean, our commander level was in a very bad state during this whole process. So I just don't know how much representation the city of Woodland Park has had, because we didn't even get a pre-brief on, you know, what the city staff and thought. So I eventually I'll be making a motion to table it to a later point in time when the police chief has been on board for at least 30 days, so he can actively engage in this very, very, very critical topic. And I guess that's where I'll leave it. I'm sorry that I was
Okay.
a little angry at, wow.
I understand. And I do believe this was intended just as an initial presentation. as she shared with us, she'll be providing this to us. And I'm sure the report will be available to us as well. And just so you know, our new police chief is online with us and has stayed with us to hear this presentation as well. Because obviously he'll be actively engaged.
So Chris, I hope you
Just a
heard.
couple things. I really, as a presentation under ceremonies and presentations, we don't typically vote on any of those things anyway. So I don't know that we're looking for a
we
vote
have,
this
yes.
evening.
I would actually
So-
not recommend
On
a vote
appointments,
this
yeah.
evening at all.
Well, sure.
So,
Well, and that's understandable, but I don't think that this, in fact, I'm not prepared for any vote. And I think it was more just to initially present this to us. And then we would go on down the road for analysis and understanding. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, you are. And I
Thank you,
apologize there.
Michael.
That's my fault for the ambiguity. And I had a question here for council, if the council wish to endorse the initiation of phase 3. And I think, and I apologize, I was a little unclear on if direction was expected following this. I'm still a little confused, but if y'all would like to wait and talk about it more, that's fine.
I would really
is there-
suggest like, because you need to digest what's in there. And it was just to really bring you up to speed and what the report, the highlights of the report, to present that to you. And then go back and digest it and talk about it. And then, I'm sure Carl, have any questions for Carl and what the authority and the board has, is putting forward to be able to fund that next phase and what that would mean. If you have any additional questions for me, Michael knows how to get a hold of me. I am absolutely totally available, especially Chief Daisler, to you as well. You and I probably should sit down and have we can go over more of what we've, of what we found and what this could mean, and who Mission Critical Partners is as well, because, you probably don't know who we are. So, this is important. So really do take your time. There's no expectation tonight.
Thank you.
So if
Robert?
I'm
Stephanie.
Yeah. Firstly, I want to say thank you, Bonnie. We have been looking forward to this evaluation. There's been a lot of across the region, whether this is for us or not for us. So I appreciate your bringing the report to us. Like Councilman Neal, I was blindsided that you gave us a report that wasn't in the report. So you gave us a totally different presentation than what I saw here. And so I'm just going to say, from a regional standpoint, we appreciate the report. Full stop, period. Now we need time, I think, regionally, to get together, to have work sessions, to get together and say, okay, what do you guys think about the report? What do you think about it? What do you like about it? What you don't? In doing my homework, I already know that not all the parties are on board for this.
You're right.
And some are like, there ain't no way, man. So then when you trying to propose for us to go forward with something else, when we don't have all the parties on board, to me is presumptuous. I like the fact that you're an expert. It's always good to have an expert. And I've heard it said that an expert is somebody who lives 25 miles out of the region. So you fit that. You certainly do. But the caution I have to the community is that we're a community, and we're a rural community. And you're bringing all these fancy, big city, high-tech integration stuff, which is all fine and dandy, but we're country folk. And there's ways that we can handle stuff which your eyes may not see. So I just want to say that, I could go into a lot of different pieces here, but I'd like to hear from two people to give a perspective to my fellow council people, if it's okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
One is Brad, because he's with the authority. Is it Brad? Is that correct? Carl, I'm sorry. Sorry. Carl, who we're going to call Brad. He's from the authority. He's been working with our region for quite some time. I'd like him to cast this in perspective for us. And the second comment I'd like, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, Rodney, I understand that Rodney's actually been part of this in another region in the state. And I'd like to have him kind of give us an idea of what that looked like. So that we're not like thinking, oh yeah, you've got all the answers here for us. We're going to follow this however. And I mean, we've got a lot more discussions to do. So I hope you don't expect to think you're going to step into another contract with us, because there's just way too much as a community, I think we have to do first.
Not at
So
all.
it would, Chair, is that okay for us to get a perspective from these people or no?
Certainly, I'd like to just say that I don't think that there's an expectation. The contract is not with us. The contract is with the authority. The funding is from the authority. So I don't think that that's, and we make the decision whether or not we want to continue and play in any shape or form. And I think if the two gentlemen have, Rodney, you and Carl Brad, would like to share some thoughts with us, I think that would be very helpful. And then this council can take the time, and staff, and know that staff has had input in the process. This isn't just the consultant bringing information to us. They've worked with all the staff, and that's where they've gleaned a lot of the information that they've incorporated into the report. But I think that if you all have some input that you'd like to give us, that would be helpful. And then us the opportunity to get the documents, have the time to read them ourselves, and prepare questions before any consideration of supporting moving forward. Does that sound like a plan for the council and the
Sure.
staff?
Stephanie, your thoughts?
Thank you.
Catherine, your
Thank you
thoughts?
very much, people.
Carl Brad?
Carl Pratt
Thank
Simpson.
you.
I'm the CEO at the 911 Authority. We have the honor of partnering with this organization, with your community, in delivering the best 911 service in the state of Colorado. You have the best technology. You have the best service providers that we possibly could get for you. And honestly, the authority does not have, I'm going to use a country phrase if you don't object. We don't have a dog in this fight. Our job is to facilitate improved communications across the region. And if consolidating with other agencies suits your needs, then we'll help with that. If not, we're still great partners to Woodland Park. We would still continue the support of your equipment, your system, your lines, your training, your quality assurance, your public education, and stipend for employees to help with the budget. So nothing changes if nothing changes. We're still committed to this community. So no dog in the fight. If you don't want to move that way, that's perfectly fine, because it's a local decision that needs to be made by this community, and we'll support that.
And Carl, how long have you guys been partnering with us? How many years?
Probably 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah. We've really turned up the, we're trying to turn up the support to the organization from just a telephone and a radio. We provide a lot of training to the dispatchers here. Not only basic training, introductory training, but also supervisory training, managerial training, so that we help you build your succession plan.
And Carl, I know you have two first names, but your last name?
Simpson,
Simpson.
yes,
I apologize.
no problem.
Any other questions from the council?
I have a few, but they're probably better suited for a work session or something else and
Yeah,
not going down
Sure.
Rabbit hole?
the rabbit hole right now. Thanks.
That part is good.
Councilman Raffieri, did you have comments that you wanted to share?
I was just going to ask if maybe we had, so I see some people in the audience, specifically Chief Lambert, and I was
Yes.
just concerned that perhaps they had showed up to specifically speak on this, and we may not get a chance to get their comments again if they're not available at a
Absolutely.
later time. So I was wanting to open it up to hear from
Sure.
them.
Absolutely. If we could hear from Rodney, and then we'll ask if there's folks in the audience that would like to share with the council. Please and thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Hi,
Good
I'm
evening.
Rodney Grant, I'm the Deputy Chief at the Woodland Park Police Department. I did not know I was going to speak tonight. I would have put on a tie. I have, I'm not going to say extensive experience, but I do have probably more experience than most people do in consolidating dispatch centers. I've spoken extensively with Michael about the topic, extensively with our entire dispatch staff about the topic. In 2015, when I was the commander of the Support Operations Division at the Sheriff's Office, I held that position for 3 years. One of my subordinate units was our communications center, which was dispatch. The beginning in January of 2015, I was tasked to consolidate our center with the Fountain Police Department. I was successful at completing that consolidation project. It was a long, painful project, but we were successful in completing that project. And I was very much pro-consolidation at the time. I am not anti-consolidation by any means now. However, I do think that I learned a lot during that process, and I learned a lot after the fact from talking to the folks at the Fountain Police Department, the negative impacts that it did have on them. So what I would encourage moving forward, as I've discussed with Michael, is we just want to make sure that everyone here has, and not only here, everyone across the region has all the information that they need to make an informed decision, because this is a very big decision. And once you do this, if you do make the decision to consolidate, it is nearly impossible to go back. You can't really undo it. I mean, not without spending a lot of money. So just two facts that I want you to really take into consideration today is the initial 2 phases did provide some information that shows some cost savings. Please don't consider those, because there will not be a cost savings associated with this consolidation. I can tell you that definitively, there will not be a cost savings, at least in the first, I don't know how many years, but not for quite a long period of time. It just really depends on how much service we want to continue to provide the citizens of Woodland Park, how many services we're willing to allow the citizens to do without moving forward. So I would just say, I would encourage to maybe go to the next phase. Michael and I met with Bonnie last week, and we made some recommendations to Bonnie on on what we really would like to see in that 3rd phase. But I would like for everyone, all the council members here, to also have the benefit of seeing the additional information before you make a decision on this topic. So if you have any questions for me, I can give you some more examples of some of the things that we encountered, but that's what I have right now.
Go ahead, Rusty.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you for that little blurb. And before I go with my question, Bonnie, I want to, if my anger came across that it was directed at you, it's not. I was angry. When you're sitting up in front of an audience and cameras and all of that, and you're blindsided, you kind of, it's awkward. So it's not directed at you. It's just a situation.
You're perfectly fine. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Rodney, the question I have, and this comes from the military terminology, command and control. We're talking about the 911 system, and the terms command and control are 2 distinctly different things. So as I'm reading through this document and the information we're going to be receiving, are we talking about control, or are we talking about command consolidation? Or are we talking about both?
I think you're talking about both. In this particular case, as I understand it, having reviewed the document that I've reviewed, and I think you have it, maybe you haven't reviewed it yet, but even though this is going to be a third party, supposedly a third party entity that is going to manage the consolidated dispatch center, it still will be housed at Teller County Sheriff's Office, just like the consolidated dispatch center between Fountain and El Paso County Sheriff's Office was housed at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Woodland Park Police Department would give up any control or command authority. They would, as I understand it, have a seat on a governing board and would have a vote, so they could make their voices heard through a vote. But you do give up a lot of, and if you want more information, you could really talk to the folks at Fountain PD, because when we took over dispatching for Fountain PD, we just directed to them what they needed to do from that point forward. And we told them what records management system they had to use. And it kind of went down the path of where they lost control at that point in time. So I think it is a command and control situation where we'd be losing both of those. And I'm also military, and I really look at second and third order effects. And that's what I think that next phase really needs to be focused on, are the second and third order effects of the decision to consolidate.
And maybe Brad, Carl,
I'm so sorry.
Carl,
Carl.
are you familiar with the tactical, operational, strategic levels in the military?
To be honest with you, no. I've
You-
had 30 years in with the 911 system, and I understand how law enforcement, first responders work closely with first dispatch.
Okay, and I'm trying to kind of get an answer to my question. I appreciate you're not quite sure. Are you familiar with the terms command and control? Because 911 in my mind would be tactical control, but not necessarily tactical command.
You know, right now you have your organization has the luxury of.
Could you?
Would you
use this
mind
microphone
using
right
the
here?
Yeah, that's
microphone in
right.
front
We
of
need to
you?
get it
Thank you.
recorded. Thank you. Good
Um,
catch, Robert.
Right now, your organization has the luxury of the police chief, the deputy chief walking into dispatch and affecting a change or putting into place new policy, and it wouldn't have to go through a board of directors to make it happen. And you have a well-running dispatch center. You have a really engaged supervisor who knows how the operation runs. Rodney's come up to speed really quickly. So this is Brad's opinion, not Carl Simpson.
I value his opinion too.
Well, we both think that you have a very well-running organization, but that there are some efficiencies that can be gained by sharing resources across the region. Could you gain some things? Probably. The biggest thing would be more than one person on duty in the middle of the night, because that's a risk that you live with every day. You would lose some features of your comm center. Right now, when someone comes into the police department, they're greeted by a person right away, which is, I think that's the flavor that Woodland Park wants to extend to its citizenry.
Thank you, Carl Brad.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Councilmember Neal, if I can just clarify one more.
Yes,
thing.
please.
Maybe it wasn't clear. I do believe that we would lose command and control both.
At the tactical level.
At the tactical level, at the dispatch level. And I can give you an example. When we consolidated with Fountain Dispatch Center, we took 13 of their dispatchers at the time, and it boosted our number to 44. We had 44 dispatchers after the consolidation. They lost control of all of those dispatchers. They were no longer Fountain employees. Those employees then worked for the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. 2 years later, all but one, I believe, had resigned and gone someplace else. So, I mean, they lost control over taking care of their employees. I think that applies, even though it may not be the tactical level, that may be a more strategic thing. But also when it came for time to do investigations, let's say a dispatcher made a mistake on a call and didn't air a warrant or something that they should have found in the system and aired to the cops on the ground in Fountain. The Fountain Police Department did not have any ability to affect that investigation into that incident. That was totally up to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office to conduct that investigation. And I would expect a similar situation would occur if the consolidation occurs between Woodland Park and Teller County and possibly Cripple Creek, but I don't think they're playing right now, so.
Thank you very much, Rodney.
Can I,
Please.
so one other question, it might be directed to you, Bonnie, but I'm going to first direct it to you, Rodney, and that is, she talked about technology and how technology is needed. I mean, we're moving into that age and we can have interconnectedness with technology. can you keep command and control at each of the locations? So Woodland Park for Woodland Park, Teller County for Teller County, Cripple Creek for Cripple Creek, and use interconnectedness using technology to enhance your ability to see each other and communicate with each other without having to put it in one place.
Yeah, you absolutely can. In fact, Michael and I, and we spoke with Bonnie about that last week. We've had discussions, I've had discussions with Jen about that. There are some technology barriers to that right now. And that is, again, one of the benefits of moving forward to phase 3, whatever we are calling phase 3 now. Right now, Teller County Sheriff's Office doesn't, I don't want to get too technical, but they don't use AVL, so they can't look, as I understand it anyway, they can't look at a computer and see where all of their cars are. We can. They're not using body worn cameras or body worn camera systems yet. We are. So moving forward, those technologies would need to be like systems, so they could see our people in the field and we could see their people in the field. But there are definitely opportunities to use technology to leverage efficiencies without consolidating our systems. But we just need to do a little bit more work to figure out how much that will cost and what technology requirements we need to look at. Did I cover that, Bonnie?
Yeah, I think from that level and what we talked about at the dispatch level, there's no new technologies needed. You already have the call handling equipment, your computer aided dispatch system, the logging recorders that are recording all of the transmissions and the phone calls. That stuff is already in place and paid for and maintained by the authority. And that's their day-to-day things. The things that Rodney is bringing up are completely valid, and you know, how do you bring that CCTV, the AVL, you know, and all of that. And that's, like you said, what would need to be more of a granular, what's happening at each agency in particular. And are there things that are happening that could be common already that could be leveraged to do that? But as far as the operations, one thing I would like to say too is kind of going back to your question about the command and control, and Rodney, your example, what is proposed is a consideration of a future state. We've agreed what has happened with in those scenarios and other consolidations where one completely takes over, as in the Fountain El Paso Teller, is not what we were recommending here. In here, we would recommend a field service advisory board be made up from each of the entities and the disciplines, and that field supervisory board also have the ability, a standing committee to manage complaints and concerns, and that those things be on a standing agenda and them meeting regularly to address them, so that every agency would still have that ability to have feedback into how their services, there needs to be performance metrics and everything built into that MOU to be able to protect and have that say and that skin in the game still, if you will, when these things come about. If that doesn't take place and anybody feels that they aren't having that ability to have control at the field level as well, it can be disastrous as a consolidation.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you.
Anything else from the council? Is there anyone in the public that would like to address the council on any of these topics or on this consolidation report at this point? Tyler, thank you for coming up.
I knew as I do this, I'll dress a little nicer and part of my hair a little bit better. Tyler Lambert, Fire Chief, Northeast Teller County Fire. Been in the fire service in Woodland Park for 32 years. Been through a lot of dispatch changes throughout this time, and we were one of the ones that kind of brought this on, won the authority to try to help us figure out what we could do. We're in favor of going to the level 3 and seeing what that would cost, how it could be done. To us, it doesn't matter where the center is at. It could be in Teller County, it could be in Colorado Springs, Cripple Creek. It doesn't matter for us. I think just one dispatch center is the best thing to do. I know there's pros and cons. That's up to debate. We can figure that out. For us, there's 3 things that we want to see. One is safety for the firefighters, the EMTs, paramedics, police. 2 is our dispatch center. making the dispatch center people a little bit less stressful. That'd be a goal. And then the third one is to give the citizens of our district, City of Woodland Park, Teller County, Cripple Creek, a better chance to get quicker 911 services. If all those things can be done, that'd be a plus. But we're in favor of going to the next phase.
Thank you. Anything, council, for Tyler? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Council, looking for thoughts on how you'd like to proceed.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I know Councilmember Neal had mentioned a motion to table it. Do we really need that at this point, or can we just move on and ask for it to be placed back on the agenda? I mean,
Yeah, my apologies, but I was going to actually ask a similar question, perhaps of Mr. Simpson. Is there a timeline for some kind of decision from Woodland Park on whether, yes, we would like to proceed with phase 3 as well? What does that look like? Maybe that'll help.
Thank you, Michael. The funding is available till the end of the year. And so there's plenty of breathing room. Take our time. And I would add, you didn't ask me, but I would add that moving forward into the third phase of this project would give each of you, the chief, the fire department, the information that they need on a more granular level. Right now, you're looking at some pretty high level numbers, and the authority is willing to fund that third level. It's already in our budget. And to be honest with you, I think this has been a topic that's been brought up in Teller County over the years. There's been several consolidation studies done. And I think this is our best shot at getting a really definitive model. And if we were to move forward, how would it look and how much would it cost? So no disrespect to the new chief, but I think we should move forward with the third phase and then provide him better numbers upon his arrival.
My sense of this is that I would like to see us develop a scope of work to give to Bonnie as a region. And I would like to see us hold a work session with the county commissioners, with Tyler and Northeast Teller Fire, with the ambulance, with Cripple Creek, and community members to say, okay, here's what the report says. We've just had it. So we've had it a week ourselves, and some of them haven't even looked at it. So I think if we have that, and we already know, I mean, regionally, we already know that we have some rough edges between different agencies. And so now that we have this report that you've done, I think that's valuable, but I think we need to drive what you do next. I mean, we as a region need to drive what you do next, and then you can put numbers and all that to it. But I think it's a little premature to, without having some sort of work session where we're all able to kind of put our thoughts on the table and say, okay, maybe the goal of that work session would be, what would we want to see the scope of work be for Bonnie? I think it would be doing a disservice to just say, sure, go ahead. And I think our new chief needs to have the opportunity to weigh in on that and get a sense of the pieces. And I don't want to rush that to have you give us some report before we've said, no, this is actually what we want you to look at.
And you're right, and that's why I did suggest that we had to take a pause and we have to come back and refine the scope of work from what exists right now.
Yeah.
So that we answer
Great.
exactly the question that you just posed.
And I think you should wait for us to give you that. So we give you, in my proposal, if
Your
people are
suggestions.
willing to do that, we would give you that. Then you could refine it to however, but for you to start and give us a scope of work now, I think is, doesn't serve us the best as a community. We have to chew on it and say, yeah, these are the pieces, right? And I know each agency has their own bias on it and perspective. So I think we can work it out, but it might not look exactly like you think it does today.
Oh,
I mean, I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean, process wise.
Yeah, and that's what we've been, we want to say that this is, we gave our professional opinion in this, at this point.
Right.
But how it looks in the end and what you want to do, it really is for you all, the decision makers in your community.
So can I ask a hopefully fairly simple question? How long would it take you to do phase 3 if we just hypothetically said tonight, start phase 3 without any more feedback?
You could be looking, schedules, this and that and the other, taking all that to be conservative, it could take 8 to 9 months.
Okay, so is there a way we can do this in tandem then, where we do the work sessions and we kind of put what we want it to see while you're still doing all the other background stuff so that we don't waste extra time?
What's interesting, and when you say that, is that what we were looking at is exactly those work sessions as
Okay.
part of our approach, is getting everybody together, because everybody's kind of been separate right now. Getting everybody together to do exactly what you said, sir. Talk about, what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Now let's talk about the governance. Let's talk about the operations. Let's talk about each of these pieces. What do you like about the report? What do you not? What you don't like? What are alternatives that can be, to achieve some of these things? And then what are the pros and cons of them, and have those in those working sessions? That's the type of information, because once those decisions are made as we go through that process, then we know exactly what we're trying to put the impact costs to. Do we need to reach out to vendors? Do we need to have discussions with, HR and what are labor categories, and what's it going to cost to, to replace an individual to do the window? Or are there alternatives that you wouldn't have to hire somebody, or somebody else in the community could already do it, or in the municipality? All of these things have to be part of work sessions, and they need to be done collaboratively.
Correct me if I'm wrong. To this point, where we've arrived in
Mhm.
phase 1 and 2 has been an engagement, not only with, you don't do this in isolation.
No.
You don't go to your office and create a report for us.
No.
You engage with us, with the line people, with the people on the street, with the people in the chairs in the dispatch center, with the staff, with the other agencies that are involved and served by the 911 dispatch center,
Correct.
the respective ones, the 3 of them. And you've come that far by performing those exercises.
Correct.
And so phase 3 would be similar by engaging the public, the council, the staff, the people on the street. Everybody would be involved in directing what the project looks like
Correct.
and what the result we would like to see looks like.
Correct.
So I don't think that the consultant is going to be doing this in isolation. And so I think it's more us, I think the council needs to spend time asking questions of staff, reading the report ourselves, spending the time that Rusty likes to spend looking through those things and understanding it completely. And then we can have a better conversation about maybe moving to phase 3 and having conversations with those impacted if necessary. Does that sound reasonable at all? Thank you.
Thank you. And kind of to add on to that, thank you for clarifying, because I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding as far as the
Process.
request between asking us, yes, you want to implement this plan versus are you okay with what has happened so far to continue on with this? Because otherwise, if council's going to sit up here and say, this just isn't for us, I don't see it changing, there's no reason to continue the exercise. And I kind of feel like that's what we're being asked at this point is this something you're still willing to consider so we can continue to move forward? So with the idea of work sessions, obviously we'll get to a point where we need to have work sessions with all the stakeholders and all the entities involved. Like you said, maybe asking questions of staff, having a small work session just for council for now to kind of ask all the questions that we have at this point, because this hasn't come up for 6-8 months now since it's been before council. Yeah, it's been a while. so that we can just get caught up and wrap our heads around it. And then again, make that decision as far as, yes, this is something we're still willing to consider doing. So let's keep moving forward or not, and just start with a small work session. Because I do think, the idea of massive work sessions and things like that is kind of putting the cart before the horse. It sounds like to do that, they would need information from the phase
Yeah.
3 part of this anyways. So that's what I would suggest, is maybe taking a week or two. Rusty, you can do your research like you always do, and we can just come together as a small work session group of council to wrap our minds around this and go from there. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you, Steph. Rusty, please.
Yeah, and I do want to respond to your comments. While research is what I like to do, this one may actually be a little bit of a tutorial. I think I'm the only one on the council that understands command and control, because my military schooling and career, and even listening to the testimony, I'm not comfortable that the people that came to the mic understand command versus control. And I think the council needs to understand, because when you take a look at the situational awareness capabilities that Woodland Park has right now, which facilitates good command decisions, and I'm trying to represent our new chief because he's not here right now. I think he would be chiming in saying, yes, it's very
He's out
important.
there. He's still here.
Well, hopefully, chief, I'm not misstating. Hopefully there's not a big disconnect between how the military does command and control of operations and how the police force would do command and control operations. They are very similar in some regards. They're different in other regards. The fire is very different sometimes, but command and control is not. So I would like to see a work session so that people understand what is command. So, and it differs from control. Control is the communication. I keep hearing the communication, the 911. Yeah, getting the word out, that's communicating. It's the decision maker's process and the tactical level command that I'm concerned moving away from the front lines, if you want to call it that, the front lines. I would like to be able to reach out to Jason Mikesell and see what his plans are for funding situational awareness tools that equal what Woodland Park has, because we don't want to give up an enormous capability. And situational awareness tools, for those in the audience, it's that mapping feature where you can see where all of your resources are and the decision body, who's going to be making decisions of which unit goes or what type of unit goes, and being able to coordinate that. Because once the command decisions are made, that's simply passed to the communication, the control to get the word out. And I want to make sure that we have the command level of thought being done in tandem with this exercise. So doing your costing may be premature for a couple of weeks until our chief is here to take a look at the what he's inheriting, and then he can work with the chief, because you got fire and the police and the ambulance. He will want to factor that in when he's making his recommendations to Michael, and then when Michael comes back to the council.
So
Sorry
can
for
I
the
make a
lengthy.
su- You're fine. Can I make a suggestion that we ask the staff to give us the opportunity to review all of the document and formulate our questions and concerns? And maybe we revisit this, maybe the second meeting in March. Then we'll have our mayor back. She'll be able to engage with us as a full council. And we have the opportunity to have conversations with people that might help us answer questions like you
Yeah.
just suggested.
Yeah.
And maybe we revisit this at the second meeting in March. We don't even have to, we can then revisit it again after that if we need to. But just because we've got our police chief online, and moving on 11 o'clock there.
Yes.
So would that be to council's desire to do that and give us some time?
I think that's a
Consideration.
wise
Would that
suggestion.
Make all of you, would that be comfortable for you all?
It certainly would be comfortable. And
Yes.
at the same time, because of what I hear from Carl, that this has got a timeline at the end of the year in terms of funding. Does that mean it gets funded? The project doesn't have to be completed by then, it just has to be funded by then?
You know, our board is very committed to the satisfaction of the organizations that we support. I've seen project money be rolled over into the next year.
Okay.
Simply by one of the representatives from the organization coming to the board and simply asking to have the money rolled over into the next year.
Well, that's a huge pressure valve relief right there, because I really think this is a community-wide concern. It's certainly for the city, but it's also for the community. And so personally, I think that for us to make a decision to move ahead or not move ahead without consultation with the county, with the fire, with the ambulance, and with Cripple Creek
Sure.
is it's like, how can you do that? You know?
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to push it back till the middle of March and then we see what we can do on a regional level to get some stuff going, I'm fine with that.
Is that okay, council? Is that staff? You have direction?
I think that's very clear. Yeah, that's appreciated. That's a good timeline. That'll give Chief Daisler a chance to get involved and ask questions. He and I have been going back and forth and coming up with some ideas. So
Right.
that's wise.
Thank you.
So if
Counsel?
I can just say one thing,
Yes.
think of us from this point on as more of your facilitators than decision makers, right? We just, again, reported our findings, and now we're here just to be facilitators for you and help you all make decisions based on that, whatever that future might be.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And any
much.
questions you may have along your own thing, don't hesitate to reach out if you need some more background or anything else. We're here for you.
Thank you.
Gift card.
Thank you to you, to Carl, Brad.
It's definitive. It's Carl.
Thank you, Rodney, for your input.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief, everyone. All right. Thank you for your patience in discussing that important issue.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 3E. Request for funding for Wildfire Preparedness Day on May 7th. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you very much.
To 2022, and the presenter is Mike Nakai.
So may I
Go ahead.
I'm going to recuse myself since this is regarding funding and that's my husband. So let me know when to come back.
Thank you. We'll get you.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
My name is Brad. I'm sorry, Mike Nakai from Woodland Park.
I'm just
Yes.
just a point of order. If we get started in this now, it's like 8 minutes to 9. Do we want to take
Are
a
you
quick
ready for a
break?
break?
I'm thinking maybe, yeah.
Do you mind?
I do not mind. If we just took an hour over something that doesn't require a vote, then yeah, let's probably take a break.
We'll just take a 10-minute break. So council will be back at 9:02, please. Thank you, Mike. All right. Let's resume the meeting. We were hearing from Mike Nakai on item 3E, request for funding for Wildfire Preparedness Day on May 7th, 2022. Mike, thank you for your patience.
Yes, no, thank you. So I'll let you know why I'm here today, so I don't get any ire from Rusty that he's not made aware that I'm here to ask for a vote. Okay, so.
There was a joke in there and I didn't hear.
It's okay, that's okay, that's okay. So I had the opportunity last year to work with Rusty and the chief Lambert, as well as members from the police department, members of the community planning commission on our public safety, emergency management, resiliency subcommittee of the comp plan. So we put a few things in motion, and I kind of made a commitment back then to follow through with some of these. So that's why I'm here today. Okay. So why don't we go to the next slide, Rob? I want to take a quick look back at some of our wildfires here in Colorado. Unfortunately, some of them have been pretty close to Woodland Park. The Hayman fire, we evacuated parts of the western part of town. And then in 2012, the Waldo Canyon, we evacuated parts of the eastern part of town. And as I was putting this list together, it made me think about something I heard Don Engel from the Teller County Office of Emergency Management say that last year, is that he just doesn't remember there being so many big fires. Okay. So I decided to, as an engineer, I was just going to say, well, let's go see what that data looks like and let's graph it. So when we go to the next slide. So you guys are probably a little more used to looking at these types of graphs, because we've all been looking at COVID graphs for the last couple of years. So basically we have 1980 on the bottom left and 2020 on the bottom right. And then the acreage is the height of this graph. And you can kind of tell that our fires are indeed getting bigger. Hayman kind of stood out as an anomaly for almost a decade. But you know, that's 40 years of history, and it's a little bit troublesome. So we'd also, if you go to the next slide, our fires are also becoming a bit more destructive. This is the number of homes lost in fires in the last 40 years. And again, these are all fires that are over 10,000 acres. The one exception to that is the top point up there, which is the Marshall Fire, which was, if I'm not mistaken, just a couple thousand acres, but around 1,000 homes. And as you all know, this is pretty recent for us, and this occurred in December, so it's a bit frightening. All right, so I'm here to say, what can we do as a community? So in our comprehensive plan, we wanted to raise awareness, wildfire awareness, and help the citizens get prepared. So one of our activities, actually the one activity we had that had a 1-year time frame, was to establish a fire preparedness day. And if you go to the next slide, Rob, as it turns out, the NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, they a large group, they handle everything from codes, and I can't even think of the number of events that they're involved in. They have been hosting a community wildfire preparedness day since 2013. It actually started in Colorado, and it's been growing nationwide ever since. So it's held on the first Saturday in May every year. And as the picture, you know, this is kind of the primary goal of their event, is to help people understand the ignition zone around the home and what everyone can do on their property to just to give it a little bit better chance to survive. Okay. Next slide. So in our event, we're planning to do that and a few other things. So the first is we want to take the opportunity to get people to sign up for emergency notifications. So this is Nixle, Everbridge, Peak Alerts. So this will be a way that you can get notified on your phone, via email, your choice, and you can choose the types of districts and services that you'll be alerted on. This is a common complaint we see in many disasters, including Marshall, that people weren't getting notified. And that's a solvable problem if we can get the word out. Evacuation is a topic that's kind of near and dear to my heart. We've asked help from the police department and the Taylor County Sheriff's Office to help answer questions and provide literature on evacuation. There's planning, there's do's and don'ts, things for your pets, finding different routes. Do you even know different routes out of your neighborhood or through town? Or, if you have to evacuate out 67, do you really know what to do once you go up there, right? How to get where you're going. We obviously are going to cover mitigation in the home ignition zone. We also want to cover home hardening. So there's things you can do to your home. And this is where we want to get the education out. There are things you can do to your vents, your soffits. There are coating materials that you can put on and around your house, on your deck. There are new decking materials that are Class A fire rated. So we're trying to get that type of information out. And then we also like to take the opportunity to do insurance. It's a good time for people to think about their insurance coverage. Do they have enough? This is, again, another complaint that we have out of Marshall. People are finding their coverage is inadequate. We'd like to talk about flood after fire. I know we live at the top of 2 watersheds and we really don't think about flood insurance here. But if you look at around town, we are surrounded by the Rampart Range and some pretty tall hills around us. And if we get a fire up on those hills, you're going to see flooding in areas that you never thought you would. And flood insurance takes typically 30 days to go into effect. So I think we saw this in the East Troublesome fire last year, where while the fire was still active, they had thunderstorms in the fire area and mud and debris flows. So anyway, there's always a number of things about insurance that the folks can provide. So I'm working on getting more insurance reps to come and help with that part of the event. We are trying to get Centos to come and set up a free inspection for your fire extinguisher for your home. Your fire extinguishers go bad after time, especially if they don't have a gauge on them, and you can bring it up to the station during the event and get it checked out, certified. The chief will also provide all of his staff to answer other questions about home fire safety. We're trying to put together a list of contractors. We're trying to marry people with needs that they maybe can't do the mitigation around their homes themselves with contractors that can do it. We're looking into groups that can do volunteer to actually help people that maybe can't even afford a contractor. And lists of materials that people can use. And then another big topic is we'll have our Firewise representatives there who will explain how neighborhoods can set up Firewise for their neighborhood. Okay, next please. Okay, so the agencies that we have signed up so far is obviously Netco. They're going to sponsor the event. at the station, the Woodland Park Police Department has agreed to provide a table again to talk about help with signups for notifications and evacuations. Taylor County SO is the same. Taylor County Office of OEM, Colorado State Forest Service, and U.S. State Forest Service. We have a number of Firewise volunteers that are helping with this project, obviously along with the Netco staff. We're looking for also support from the city, in-kind support, obviously from the PD, as I mentioned, but also from Grace to help with publications, web and media, getting the event out, posted on the web and in social media. And then, so that brings us to the financial numbers. We're trying to get banners. These will be reusable banners so that when we have the events again in the future, we can change the date. And so the next would be printing and handouts. The NFPA used to provide stacks of handouts for a lot of the details that you needed to provide, but they only do, I guess, two of the handouts now. So the rest of them you basically have to copy and print yourself. So we're trying to get printing services. We'd like to get some advertising. The key to these events is getting the word out in as many places as we can, and that's really going to be the make or break of this, is getting the word out. We're trying to get coffee and donuts. There's probably a cop joke in here that I'm going to have enough cops around that I'm going to have coffee and donuts, for the morning. Anyway, so that total not to exceed is a not to exceed number, because what we're hoping to do is in the next few months get sponsorship to help with a lot of these costs. Get someone to give us a discount on the printing or on the advertising, the signs, the refreshments, but all these things takes time. Even the State Farm helps co-sponsor this event. They have a grant, $500 grant fund that they give, I think, 100 of these out across the country. So you got to go through that application process and to determine whether you get that. But so that's I believe that's the last. Yeah, that's the last slide. So do you have any questions for me?
Council, do you have questions of Mike? You got it. Bear with us. We have another delay.
Okay.
It's okay.
My question is actually for Michael. Which staff element would this organization be working with? Which one would you designate to work with Mike and his volunteer group? Because we have to have a city oversight, city staff oversight.
Are you talking about in terms of coordinating for the actual event itself?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
I would imagine
Parks
that
and Rec.
it would be police.
Oh, it would be the police department.
I have not discussed that with them. Grace has been helping Mike get to this point in the presentation, but public safety in this more general sense is usually the police. And Rodney's not here anymore, but.
That's what gets when you leave a meeting early. You get all the action items, right?
What was it, May 7th?
That's right.
May 5th or
What
May
was the
7th?
date again?
May 7th,
May 7th.
first Saturday in May.
So Mike, do you have a specific request of the council?
Yeah, to basically to approve the funding so we can go forward with the advertising of the event. It's just I like to come to you guys and give you a heads up. I know it's not in the budget, but this is an important topic, I think, especially for this town. And the city we have had events like this in the past. I think the last one was maybe 4 years ago. And I'm told that the city has not participated financially in the past. And I don't know, I for one think that's time for that to change.
Thank you. Council?
Anything else?
Yeah, back to who's it under, I think that, well, firstly, it's very timely. It's a great endeavor, and I think it's very important. My question is, why wouldn't this be under Northeast Fire? Because it's fire, that's what handles that type of aspect of the safety of the community in that area. So why wouldn't it be under Tyler's umbrella?
I mean, okay.
And then, but
Okay.
that would be my question in terms of whether it's under police or fire. I would think it probably would be under fire, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean,
I think what he's asking, what Rusty was asking is, since I'm requesting funds from the city of Woodland Park, a city department needs to provide oversight. Okay.
Correct.
And
That is the
Netco is
gist of it.
providing the facility and all of their personnel
Right.
to hold and host the event. So they're already, and Tyler has been with us in this planning process from the beginning. So Netco is involved up to their ears.
Good.
Okay.
So thank you. So the consideration of this is when we look at where we're allocating our city funds, really in our region, it's through the fire district, not through the city. Although don't get me wrong, I think this is a very timely focus. But just, Council, you did receive from me an email on Wednesday, which came to me from Commissioner Stone. And he says there's right now, and Tyler, you could probably weigh in on this better than most, there's a real timely distribution of funds, and I mean like millions of dollars of funds at a state level from COSWAP that wants to fund this type of fire, not only fire awareness, but mitigation across the state in particular key areas. And I did have a map up there that Rob has at the back. I can tell you what page it's on, Rob, if that helps you. Let's see. Oh, there it is. It's on about page 6, maybe 5 or 6. There it is.
Right. So you kind of.
So this is the area that COSWAP says that they want to give these funds to, and you'll see Teller, if you can make it a little bigger, you'll see Teller County is actively in that area.
Yes, Teller County is in the area covered.
See
by
down
this,
in
yes.
red there next to Colorado Springs.
Can you go farther up in that document? Somewhere in that document above that, Rob, is a section called basically it's the requirements for the grant. There are 2 types of project requests.
Yeah, there are, and you can see there's some yellow highlights in here, and I haven't by any means exhausted. I think it's a 50-something page document. What is it, 51 pages or
Right.
something? So, but my comment to council is that I think this is under a purview of something that's very timely that's happening right now. February 14th is when they first started to release funds, and they will continue to release funds from now until they're exhausted. But there's millions of dollars of it. So rather than, and I respect your request, but I would prefer from a county's perspective, they're saying there's a lot of funds out there, should try to get these type of projects under the umbrella of either Northeast Teller or Teller County under that appropriate application. So you not only fund it to what you're requesting, but maybe even much more than what you're requesting in terms of developing a plan and a program, which will actually not only just be awareness, but can help us at a time when we may find fires right at our door.
Okay, so let me address. So the COSWAP plan requires that you provide a specific mitigation project. This means you pick a piece of property, an area, and you request a grant to have that area mitigated, and it needs to be done by a specific crew, specific trained personnel. So the money can be used either for mitigation or for training, because if you're going into an area and you're going to do a prescribed burn, or you're going to do some thinning, we just don't send anyone out there with chainsaws and matches to do this. So there's so the funding is very specifically for a piece of mitigation and or training.
And training, right.
Right. So Tyler manages going through looking and trying to marry up projects within his district with these grant funds. There's also CUSP does the same thing. They try to marry grants with projects. Okay. I asked Tyler about this yesterday, and his opinion was an awareness event does not qualify. So yes, Rusty.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, Robert, I actually, when I got yours and read through it, I called Eric, and what Mike is saying is actually correct. The Fire Awareness Preparation Day would be a great complement to the funding that is now available through these grant programs, but they are actually, the preparedness would not qualify. The execution and mitigation would. So this would be kind of the primer.
I'm talking about what our program is focused on is personal property, our citizens, their homes.
Correct.
So I don't know, Tyler, if we could use this funding towards 500 individual homes. I don't know that would fly, but no, the co-swap. Totally.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mike, let me
right.
finish. The individual preparation, getting the citizens in their homes prepped would be a complement to what these other funds are. But the funds that we would get through the grants would not be eligible to be used, because I asked him, could we backfill the city's coffers with the $2,300 if we went in for the grant? And he said, no, it would not qualify for what Mike is trying to do. But his effort would be perfectly aligned with trying to get the actual grant money for then bigger projects where they actually go out and do large scale subdivisions worth mitigation.
Right. Or even on city land. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
So my question to not to you, Mike, but to Tyler is, are there plans from Northeast Teller to do something in that regard, focusing on city properties and the closeness to the national forests, et cetera? Is there already plans in the works in that regard? Are you guys looking at utilizing some of these co-swap funds to do that now? Because they're right on the table right now.
Yeah, we're working with the county to see if there's a mitigation project that's like a shovel ready project, large scale.
Mhm.
That's either $700,000 to $1 million will go towards.
Right.
In Teller County whole. I can't tell you it's gonna be in City Park, Divide, Forest, and where, but all the fire chiefs in the county, along with the county, and whoever else wants to participate, we will come up with some plans of what is a priority to get done. Some of the things that we've talked about is maybe mitigating along roadways to get folks out of subdivisions. That's just one thing that's come up. Maybe it's a fire break somewhere that if the fire's coming from the west, it's going to help stop somewhere. Those are the talks that are having. Nothing's been really finalized yet. Actually, tomorrow is the HOA POA meeting that you can do with the county if you so choose to. We'll be getting together in the next few weeks to start coming up with those plans so that the county can put that plan into effect with the state to see if we can qualify to get that.
And Tyler, that meeting's at the Teller County Sheriff's Office tomorrow at 9:30, is it?
I believe it's
It's
9
at
o'clock.
110 Reserve, is it not? No.
No,
Okay.
it's at the sheriff's office.
It is
And
at
there's a
the
Zoom
office.
link for it too.
It's tomorrow morning. I
It
didn't
is
know
correct.
Do you know what the time was? So anybody that wants to participate in this?
9 o'clock?
9
9 o'clock.
o'clock, yes.
It's 9 o'clock. And
TCSO.
where's the Zoom link available? On your website or?
The sheriff's department sent that out. I'll see if I can get it to maybe Michael or somebody and ship it out to everybody.
Thanks. Yeah.
So council, to get back on topic, we've been asked for consideration of funding for the Wildfire Preparedness Day on May 7th. Yes, Alfie.
I'd just like to make a few comments on this and then hopefully we can move along. It's a great event. It's certainly something that it can easily be supported. I'm all in favor of the in-kind support. I think that's something we do on a regular basis to support community events through our social media and website. I don't think it's going to surprise anybody that I'm going to be very stingy with taxpayer money. It is a great event. It should be supported, but I can't entertain the idea of using taxpayer money to go towards this event. I think about all the other things, for instance, like the Veterans Wall in Victor, the fact that we just had actually one of our committees, the Keep Woodland Park Beautiful, coming towards the city asking for funding. I think there is plenty of engagement from different entities, such as your insurance agents, like you said, contractors, different people that would be specifically interested in this. You said you would be seeking sponsorships from them. And I think that you'll be very successful in that. But again, I don't think it's going to surprise anybody for me to sit up here and say to use all taxpayer money for a specific event like this. I just can't support it. In kind, absolutely, but monetarily, that's always been my stance and I'll stick with it.
Thank you. Yes.
Stephanie, you were the one that actually convinced me that our reserves, we were shooting for 25, we went up to 27, then we thought it came back to 25, but the reality, it did end up at the end of the year, it went up to 27. Financial wisdom, it's the ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Let's put those dollars, that 2% above what our target, to better work for the citizens. Would you consider, $2,300 for, if we prevented a single house fire and a single life, our financial responsibility, our responsibility to citizens, wouldn't that?
I believe our first and foremost financial responsibility to the citizens is to refund the money that we don't need. So that's where, for me, that additional 2% above and beyond the reserve, I see that as being the absolute number one priority that we have to citizens. If we have extra money that is not absolutely necessary for operations of the city, we need to give that money back to them and let them decide what to support.
And I may be biased. I have lived through a house loss. My wife and I lost a house. So we know what losing a house is like and how fast a fire can spread from one house to the next, to the next, to the next, as we saw up north. For $2,300, I would ask you to reconsider your positions. It's such a minor amount to save lives.
I understand that. And having grown up here, I went through both the Hayman and the Waldo Canyon fire. So I look at the difference between, there are plenty of people out there who may not have gone through that or don't have as much of the knowledge that they need to be firewise. It is something that is extremely important, especially if you've lived through that a number of times. But at the same time, I would say there are any number of important topics for community members that someone might look at and say, it's important for people to be aware of this. We have issues such as teller safe harbor for victims of domestic violence. Human trafficking is a huge issue right now, that you could have any organization come before council and say, this is an extremely important issue for our community and it needs to be funded and it needs to be supported. And I won't disagree with that, but it's also not my responsibility to choose which organizations are funded with taxpayer money. It's up to the taxpayer to decide individually.
So I'm gonna make some comments. First of all, I see this is not a nonprofit asking us to support their mission. This is a direct investment in the citizens of Woodland Park to get the education and tools that they need and can use to directly prepare themselves to be better prepared for the potential for wildfire. I think that this is something that is being held as an education opportunity to help our citizens of Woodland Park and understand what they can do better to prepare themselves and their homes and their properties to potentially save their property from a wildfire. We've had them, when Haman came the night before we got the weather that helped them stop that fire, it breached the point north of town that called for the evacuation of Woodland Park. And fortunately, the weather forecast was moving in and was enough that they chose not to evacuate our town. So helping folks, our citizens, with the knowledge and tools to prepare themselves for such an event, I find to be a perfect use for taxpayer dollars. And so I'll support at least some kind of contribution to the effort for that very reason. And I would encourage the businesses and others in the community to get behind this and help support and sponsor it as well, because I think it's very important. We've had them announce now that we don't have a fire season anymore because it's all year long. So I think this is very timely, and I thank you very much for putting it together. And those are my thoughts. Robert.
So great thoughts. Totally agree
Thank
with
you.
you, Rusty, as well. Agree with you, Mike. However, I am very cognizant that we have different responsibilities. So council has a responsibility for certain aspect. The fire authority has a responsibility. The school district has a responsibility. Taxes are apportioned accordingly. And just as Council Member Alfieri talked about the wall up in Victor, I supported it. I, out of my own pocket, supported it. The lady who came here about the deer awareness and the bird awareness, great educational program, fabulous, right? But it's outside of the purview of council. It's not our decision to allocate those sorts of dollars. That's something that should happen through the school district. So in the same way, I feel that the allocation of dollars on this needs to be in conjunction with the fire authority, not with city council. So I totally support it. I'm happy to chip in out of my pocket so that you have some sponsorship, but I am not prepared to allocate city dollars towards it because I think it's an erroneous application. And we've talked about it, at least as long as I've been on council, that the different organizations that come to us and say, please, I want money for this, I want money for that. They're all great causes, but I would prefer to see the community, Mike, the Woodland Park people get together as people in the community, say, hey, you want to get together for some fire awareness? Hey, let's come to my house. Let's do this. Let's put some money together. But the citizens do it from the citizens initiative and not from looking to government to say, give us some money to make this happen. And so I will not be giving an affirmative vote on this, but I do encourage you to continue what you're doing because I think it's a good effort.
Yes, the event is scheduled. It is on.
Good.
We are having the event. The question comes down to how successful it will be. It will be, and I've seen an event like this even just last year, where there was almost no media, no advertising, and I think I saw 10 citizens in the building. So it's we don't have, there's 4 volunteers right now. We can't go knock on every door in Woodland Park. So
I am
But that's
supportive
okay.
of,
I
I'm
understand.
supportive of in-kind promotions. I know that Grace and the gal over at Parks and Rec are fabulous, fabulous in terms of getting a turnout of people. So I am certainly willing to instruct the city staff to be supportive of it in terms of outreach and things, but I'm not supportive of giving dollars.
And
Ms.
I-
Alfieri.
Yeah, I think Councilmember Case is gonna move us along with the motion, but that's what I wanted to mention is I think, of course, the motion will be for the monetary amount, but I think we have consensus on council that we all agree in the in-kind request for support. That's not an issue and probably doesn't need to
thank
be
you for
part
that.
of it.
Yeah.
So
Thank you
I
for
just wanted to point that out, that as we move forward with a motion, we're probably not considering the in-kind part of the request, just the monetary
with that.
part.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for a motion.
Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion, but I want the citizens to understand our number one priority in our comprehensive plan was the safety of Woodland Park and its citizens. That is written and documented in our comprehensive plan. Number one priority, safety. So number 2 is financial considerations in my mind. 28 cents per citizen is what this is going to cost the taxpayer to save a life, potentially save multiple lives and countless city dollars. We're talking about spending $2,300 to save potentially many multiples of that, in the 10 to 100 times multiples of that. So I'm going to make a motion that we fund the Wildlife Fire Preparedness Day on May 7th, 2022 in the amount of $2,300 under the provision that is under the supervision of the Woodland Park Police Department as a city staff oversight entity.
I'll second.
Can we, have-
Michael,
can we have further discussion?
any further discussion, council?
Getting public comment on
I-
this too?
Oh,
It's-
We can.
I don't know. I just
We
asked.
could, yeah.
interesting. I appreciate your comment, Councilmember Neal, but I would like to point out that breaking this down per citizen is an interesting argument that oftentimes is used in both ways, depending on what you're arguing against. The idea that this only costs 28 cents per citizen. I find it interesting that that argument is used because oftentimes when we talk about refunding, not refunding, but cutting the money that is taken from citizens, oftentimes when it comes to mill levies and property taxes, one of the arguments is, well, it's only an extra $6 per month, or it's only an extra $20 back to them every year. So I just want to point out that, yes, that is an interesting argument, but it is used in both ways. And I have heard the exact opposite said when trying to argue for refunding money to the citizens that the city doesn't need and making it out to be such a small amount because it's only this much per citizen. So that argument for me is a little fleeting because it always seems to be used to support either side of an argument.
What I would like to respond with, it's a consistent argument for me because I have stated the $17 per family on average for a mill levy reduction, I will support in the future at the appropriate time. I begged Val Carr to delay when that would be, when the mill levy reduction and said that I would fully support it in 2 years. I will tell you now, I will support a mill levy reduction following the guidance that we established from the budgetary where we pay off things. We are off topic, but I understand, but this is.
If we don't,
Robert, you're not the mayor pro
finish up,
tem
Chris.
right now.
sorry, just a point of order.
Okay, a ruling from, may I continue or not?
Please wind it up.
I will
Thank
wind
you.
it up. I am being consistent, Stephanie. I will support a mill levy reduction at the appropriate time, which is about 1 year if the budget plays out the way, Robert, you had proposed we do it with the municipal park. I strongly think that's a way, and then we can get that 27 working for us at 25%.
I will be more than happy to remind you of your words tonight.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that has any comment that would be helpful to the council? Please. Mike, that was very nice.
Linda Martin, Woodland Park. I'll
Good evening,
donate
Linda.
$500 because I don't think it's up to this city council to pay for something like this. Those are my tax dollars that you guys are using. And it may be towards something very, very significant, but it's not up to this city council to decide how my money is used. So I will donate $500 and I'll challenge anyone on this city council to donate at least $100 to this. Put it out on the Woodland Park community page, and I bet you're gonna get donations.
Perfect.
Thank you, Linda. I will
Thank you,
join
Linda.
you and add an extra $100 to that.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
Thank you,
beautiful,
Linda.
thank you.
And you've got 100 from me too.
Council, any further discussion? Thank you. Michael, or Grace, can you, or someone call the roll?
It's already there. It's
It
on your
is?
screen.
Sorry.
Yeah, you may vote. I have a motion from Councilmember Neal and a second from Councilmember Case. Mayor Pro
Well,
Tem Case.
hold on, let me get there. I've got too many things going on. Got it. Thank you.
This is what happens when Suzanne. I was like,
So the motion fails on a tie vote with Councilmember Nakai abstaining.
Thank you.
And not here to
Grace,
vote
would
to
you mind
abstain.
asking Catherine to come back?
And Michael, will you please give us a organization that the check can be made out to, please? And if you would tell Grace so she can post it on social media.
And just a point of order or point of information, Mayor Pro Tem. With a 2-2 tie, the motion fails for this council meeting. Does that not mean it's tabled until the next council meeting? A 2-2 tie.
Suzanne is not
This
here,
is
so
the
yes.
presentation. How does this
Yeah, a
become-
tied vote
It's
is
not- how does
automatically
it pres-
tabled to the next meeting. Yeah.
It's a.
Nina, how can a presentation turn into a vote and a motion? This is like, seems to be out of whack. Can you comment on that, please?
It was an ask for funding.
yeah, I wasn't aware that was going to happen. I think, I don't, can Michael add anything to that?
No, I mean, I thought there's no formal ordinance or resolution, but there was a request from a resident, just like there would be for the bird feeder thing. So
how?
It does clearly say request for funding at least, so someone would be put on notice. You know, whether or not it should have been a new business. And I don't know who, like how it got on the, agenda who requested.
Suzanne put this agenda together, fully aware. I don't know why it would be under new business versus presentation or the other way around, but the request was still there regardless of where it is.
Business, but we have to do it next week.
All right.
next council.
Council, we're moving on to item 4, additions, deletions, or
Wait,
corrections to the
point of
agenda. Do
order.
we have anything?
Mayor Pro Tem, point of order.
Yes.
I think Robert's got a valid point. Wouldn't this, I think, should have been under new business, which means we should actually revisit this at the next council as a new business item.
Can we visit this as new business the next time it comes up, since the vote failed and it's tabled to the next meeting?
Well, it's not. There's no
Irregardless of the
procedure.
vote, two people can ask for something to be back on the agenda, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more the point. That's more the point. Yeah.
Could you say that again, Mina?
Regardless of the vote, two of you can request that it be put on the agenda for new business next, at a future meeting.
Okay, understood.
Remember the
Are we
tie
good?
vote provision, but I don't know. for
Only
something
from the
that's
standpoint,
not.
does that exclude Councilwoman Nakai from being one of those two?
It would
Because
have
of the
to.
recusal? Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
she
I'm just,
can't participate in it. You're
no,
right.
even in the putting it on the calendar.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
right. I think it
think
would.
Yeah, okay.
Be involved with that. Okay, council, item 4, additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda. Anything? Sir, ma'am, anybody? Okay, thank you. Item 5, the consent calendar. We have 2 items. Item A is approval of the January 20th, 2022 regular city council meeting minutes and the February 3rd, 2022 regular council meeting minutes. And item B is approval of the statement of expenditures for December 2021 and authorize the mayor to sign warrants in payment thereof.
I'd
Council,
like-
is there anything that needs to be removed and not addressed individually?
No, I just request that we split them up on the approval of the consent calendar, and I have just a couple of comments on both of them.
Okay. We'll take item A.
Okay.
As read.
I emailed Michael, I reviewed the minutes, and there's a couple of typos in a couple of areas. He has them. So if, and one is the name of one of the people who came to speak. I think her name was Cassie Kimbrell, and the spelling and stuff on that was wrong.
Okay.
And then there's another typo on the next set of minutes, and it's just the 2 words were merged together. So if those can get fixed, I'm fine to approve, or to make a motion to approve those minutes. With
As
those
amended?
changes, yeah, as amended. Yeah.
Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
Thank you.
I'll second
Thank you.
Robert's motion.
Thank you. Any more discussion, council? All right. If you could, oh, just warning, my computer is going to die soon. So, and
Can we send it
vote went
again?
away from me. It
Vote went away from me too.
There it is.
There we go.
So I'll let you know if it dies before we finish. There it went. Done. I didn't think it was gonna last this long, or I would have brought my charger. I thought this meeting was gonna be less than an hour, but no. All
I
right.
just want you to know that Suzanne has lost this bet already.
Item-
She normally predicts it. She thought 9.
One of these days, she's going to learn, but she's not here to learn that lesson right now. So.
Jinx, bless her heart.
So good against it.
I don't know that she's laughing, bless her heart.
Yeah.
All right, item 5B, the statement of expenditures for December 2021. Robert, you had questions?
Do you have any questions?
I didn't.
Okay, so I have just a few, and I just want to bring them to light. First one is the radio fees. Michael, I prepped you about that. It's check number 113099. It's about $8,800. And I'm thinking that that's rental of radios for the police department, but can you clarify?
I'm pretty sure that's what that is. I believe that's for, I think that's for Motorola. I don't know why it's showing city finance accounts receivable. 113099. That's page 120 of your packet. Yeah, I believe that's for radios, and they don't quote me. I think it's for Motorola, and we pay. I don't know. I think that's a quarterly
Repeaters
payment.
that are on this, it has to do with that as well.
What is
If I
that now?
remember correctly.
The repeaters,
The repeaters?
the repeaters to broadcast the radio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's. That's city finance accounts receivable. That's probably an accrual that was reversed, but
It says radio fees.
probably has to do with the fees we pay for those Motorola.
Yeah.
And the repeaters, the radios that run off the repeaters on different mountaintops, so that communication goes through the county.
And they charge us a fee for the use of their repeaters.
I seem to recall this is like a quarterly payment, I believe,
Okay.
for the use.
I
of the
hadn't
radio
seen one
system.
before, so that's why. Okay.
It's public safety.
It might be labeled differently in other. I think it might be Motorola in other cases. I'm not sure why it says accounts receivable.
If you want to check with Aaron and confirm it next meeting or something, that's fine. The other one I have is, or two checks actually, are for banners, and that's 13,186 and 13,265. It's about $12,500 worth. So can somebody clarify what we spent those on for banners? And are they reusable, or is it like a one-time thing?
So, and I believe these are our pole banners. We replaced our pole banners. The old ones were out of date and a little decrepit, and these are reusable.
The light pole.
Light pole banners, yeah.
So
And
that with the new logo and stuff? Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to refresh those.
okay. The last one is, well, the second last one is 13,391 Logan, Thomas and Johnson. It says an audit of 40,000. And I was thinking that the last time we did the verification audit, it came through in May or something like that. Yeah, and I just wondered why it was the December budget. And
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a great question. So yeah, usually it is in that spring timeframe because that's when the audit's normally completed.
Right.
As you will all recall, we did not have a finance director as of mid-April last year. And so Logan, Thompson and Johnson stepped in as kind of in an interim CFO role. And they also did our audit for us at the end of the year. And so that's why you're seeing it. They didn't invoice us until the end of the year when all the work was completed. That's why you're seeing that.
Okay. And then my last comment is that I noticed about half, we spent 1.2, we issued checks of $1.2 million, but it looks about 687,000 of that went to give as the RE2 tax, the payment for sales tax. So I just wonder, that seems like a lot for 1 month. I see we paid him 4 times that month.
Yeah, and is there something in the packet that speaks to that? Is there a page that you have?
Oh, sorry. I could go through. Well, on the 2nd of December, there was 187,500 more or less. On the 9th, there was 273,100. On the 16th, there was 224,250. And on the 31st, it was about 2,500.
I'm not sure why it's broken up. I'm guessing that maybe we were delayed in some of those payments to the district, but I can look into that. I'm not sure. Aaron's not with us tonight, obviously, but I can ask.
And those are really just to bring them to light. Not that I have any problem with the fact that we paid it out. I'm just wondering how it came to be like that.
Are you actually wanting us to hold off on voting for the?
I just wanted to bring it to light. No, the only reason I bring these to light at all is because if I have a question about them, I'm guessing anybody who's paying attention in the community might have a question as well. So I'm happy to move forward now, and
Thank you.
whoever wants to approve it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Council, do you have any other questions? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the statement of expenditures for December 2021 and authorize the mayor to sign the warrants and the payments thereof, with the
Awesome.
proviso that Mike will follow up on the questions that Robert did ask.
I'll second.
All right, so we'll do a hand vote as Mayor Pro Tem's computer died.
Oh, I didn't know we were going to be this long, or I would have brought my charger. I'll know next time. Thank you.
Let's see, where am I on this? 5B, right? Alfieri,
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Zulawaga.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes unanimously.
Thank you. Our city attorney needs to update us on the tie vote.
Yes, I just want to correct myself, and thank you for Council Member Alfieri. Was correct, very correct about this. If any matter on which there's a tie vote recorded, the matter is automatically postponed to a subsequent meeting, and that's in our Rules of Procedure and Charter, Section 7.3A. So that's for the Wildfire Preparedness Day item will be on the next agenda, and if we want to put it on new business, that's probably good. Or continue business, actually, unfinished. Yeah.
Nina, I have a procedural question on that.
Yes.
The fact that to even bring it to a vote from a presentation seems out of order. So that's fine if it was procedurally correct, but I'm not sure it was even procedurally correct to start with. So
Well, yes, I understand. So then, either way, that's why I said if two council members direct that it be on the next agenda on, that's gets the same place.
Well, it doesn't because one's assuming that it gets on the agenda, but it's procedurally not correct. So is it the latter that really we have to follow through for this to get onto the next agenda?
It helps belts and suspenders for if we have two council members to direct that it's on the agenda for next time to solve that.
Thank you. We're on item 6, public comment on items not on the agenda. Rob, do we have anyone on the sign up sheet? Do you know? Or anyone in the?
We do. We had Linda Martin who signed up.
Okay, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
It's been a long time. I have 2 statements to make just so that they're on the record. I just want these on the record. I don't believe that a former person who served on city council or who is seated and on a current commission or board should be the moderator at any candidate forums. That's my number 1. My number 2, and I think this is very appropriate to bring this up now, very apropos to bring this up now. I think we need to freeze building in Woodland Park. We are headed into a drought season. We are in a drought area right now. Our water supply is very limited. We have to do our due diligence, I believe, is what was said in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, to sustain our water supply. If we continue building and we continue building, approving and building multifamily housing, we're going to go through an awful lot of water. I know that there are projects in the works right now that have been approved and that probably already have water taps approved, but I think we should stop building in Woodland Park until we can get a handle on water, and maybe that means an update and or information regarding the reservoir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wish to address the council this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, unfinished business. We have none. Number 8, ordinances on initial posting. We have none. Number 9, public hearings. We have 1. Item A is approval of ordinance number 1418, series 2022, an ordinance of the city council for the city of Woodland Park, Colorado, amending chapter 1.16 of the Woodland Park Municipal Code to establish a procedure for the collection of unpaid municipal court fees. It is the recommendation, because our judge cannot be with us tonight, and this is something that she's presenting to us, that we open the public hearing and we continue the public hearing to the March 3rd, 2022 council meeting. Council, any comments or discussion?
Correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we automatically vote at the last meeting to table this till the 3rd? That's what I thought.
I thought we had tabled it too.
I think there were 2
Probably.
different.
There were
I think
2
ordinances.
ordinances.
Yeah,
One of them had to do with the fees
right.
and putting together a fee schedule and
Yeah.
taking away the jail time and increasing the maximum fee.
This one is the one we're talking about.
And
This
I
one
think
we
that's the
tabled.
one that we tabled.
This is the one that we tabled because it was a 3-2 vote. We didn't get the 4 votes. This one went 5-0 because this is just
It was
her
first
trying to
reading.
collect the DMV fees.
There were
right?
2
There-
different
There were 2 different
ordinances.
ordinances. So this one we need to table so that she can, so she
So
can come
she'll
back.
be available.
Right.
Right. This
Okay.
one is different.
It was the other end that we tabled.
I appreciate that, but I'm really glad to know I wasn't the only one. So thank you, Rusty.
Yeah.
This one and then this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
do you want a motion from me? Would
If
you
you'd
like a
to
motion?
do that, as long as the council doesn't have any further
Guess who will
discussion.
second it?
So I move that we table,
Continue the public hearing.
oh,
I'm going to open the public hearing. And now you all make table it. Continue the public hearing to March 3rd,
yes.
just so we have it correct.
I'm gonna let you do that at this point, because we're like 2 hours past what I thought I was gonna need to be
I know, my
cognizant
computer
for.
died.
So, yeah, you
So
go
I
ahead.
will make a motion, council, that we can, since we have opened the public hearing, unless there's someone that would like to address us at this point on this issue.
I
We
have
will
a,
continue.
I have a point of order. Maybe I'm missing something here. But if I look at the minutes from the last meeting, it says that we approved 1418. 1417, we did not.
We approved it on first reading. This is the public hearing.
This is the first.
This is the second. We did
Last
public-
meeting, we approved this ordinance on first
On
reading
first read, so this
and
is.
set the
this is-
public hearing for tonight.
Oh,
So we've
go ahead,
opened the
yeah.
public hearing
Got
and
it.
we're going to continue the public hearing to March 3rd. And that was the motion.
Got it. Now I'm with you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Is there a
I second.
Any further discussion, council? Michael,
Okay, let's see, case,
item 9A.
item 9A, case.
Yes.
Mackay,
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Zulawaga.
Yes.
Alfieri.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, council. We'll address that at the next meeting. Number 10 is new business. We have none. Probably should have had some. So on to item 11, reports. Mayor's report. It's actually Mayor Pro Tem's report. I want to, first of all, report on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting, as I'm their liaison from the 9th. We had a discussion about the pickleball courts and the letter to the editor and discussions that have occurred with regards to the pickleball folks that have a group that play pickleball avidly. And Cindy shared the history and that there's draft resolution in place that is still being talked about and negotiated. So that is coming forward. I mean, resolution of the issue, not a document that we'll consider. Second, we considered schedules of the Memorial Park, Bergstrom Park, and Meadowood Park fees and simplifying them. They're quite convoluted and create quite a bit of confusion and issues with the software being in the county, out of the county. So it just went on. There's multiple rows and columns. So they're working on simplifying that both for the citizens and the users, as well as using the software system. We're working on board goals and objectives. We've adopted the mission and vision statement as it is portrayed in the comp plan as a board. So they're working on putting together goals and objectives, and they're a very engaged group and enjoyable to work with. We are in the budget and working on updating an RFP to redo and revisit the Parks, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan, which is, gosh, 20 years old, I think.
It's old.
So that is in process for this year. And then the Levy family will be doing a presentation to the board next month at our meeting with regards to the field dedication. They're ready to present that and start moving forward with that. So that's my report on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. So the Mayor Pro Tem report, the events for the next 2 weeks, Friday, February 19th is the Dive-In movie at the Woodland Park Aquatic Center from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. You can call Parks and Recreation for more details. Then next week is School Holiday Swim from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. You may call the Aquatic Center for more details. And March 3rd is a Lunch and Learn hosted by the Woodland Park Chamber. What's your pitch? It's selling your business in 15 seconds. That will be from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can call or visit the website for the chamber for more details. And that's all I have. Ms. Alfieri.
I have nothing, but I'm glad to know that the Aquatic Center is doing the dive-in movie again. I think that's the cutest
it's
idea.
great. Thank you. Ms. Nakai.
Okay, sorry for this is gonna be a little longer than,
Oh, criminy.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Okay. So I've got to give a little backstory to this, which is part of the problem. So back in 2019, when we did the Village at Tamarack appeals, I started going through the municipal code and I found this code that I have a problem with that I think we should address. So when I approached Miles or Chief DeYoung, back then, he said he doesn't enforce it. And he doesn't have time to fix it, to remove it or to fix it. So obviously I couldn't do anything about it while he was the police chief. So then I didn't bring it up with Steve because obviously interim police chief probably shouldn't be making municipal code changes. I did talk to Chris today about it and he is on board with it. So the code in question is Title 9, 9.70.040. 9.70.040. The section states it is unlawful for any person as a patron of any establishment where beer or alcohol beverages are sold for consumption on the premise to possess or carry or display any dangerous or deadly weapon where concealed or not while on the premises of such establishment. So I'm guessing we have all broken this law and carried a weapon into a restaurant. Or not, but but my suggestion is if we're not enforcing the code, we should look at maybe removing it or tweaking it to match the state law because the state statute is less restrictive than we are. So we can point to the state statute or whatever. So basically what I'm looking for tonight is maybe somebody else that will agree with me to put it on the agenda to discuss for future.
As an ordinance.
As an ordinance, yes.
You'll have my second to do that.
You bet.
Do we have like 4 seconds on this?
Removal I like.
Probably all are carrying at some point.
Well, and I think, honestly, I think we should remove it and leave it up to the businesses to decide whether they want to allow open carry, concealed carry, no carry, whatever in their restaurant.
Well,
So
yeah, I would mention that you're getting into constitutional
You are
issues by
certainly
leaving
getting
it
into
up to the
constitutional
business.
issues.
But I am glad to know everybody can see we found something that we all completely agree on.
The Second Amendment.
No, that's right. Mayor Pro Tem has not weighed in yet.
So staff, you have more than 2.
We do.
Oh, no, I'm just
Please.
saying, I imagine you want the lawyers to draft the ordinance, right?
Well, yes,
Okay.
let me ask about timing. So mention was made of the former chief, mention was made of the incoming chief. Can we wait until a new chief is here to hear his opinion, or shall we draft something?
you
No.
can, but I spoke with him today at length about this and his response basically was, if there is a law, I will enforce it. I don't like the law. Go forward and do with what you want. So.
And since I break the law and I didn't even realize it,
Don't self-incriminate, please.
But that
I would
said,
give us though until April 30th.
Yeah.
That way he has 30
Yeah.
days to get his feet on the ground to weigh in.
that's what actually I was just going to say was, but that being said, he can certainly weigh in.
Yeah, we can
And if
start
I was to
drafting.
have a way into the attorney counsel for us, it would be to follow the Constitution first and foremost, and all the rest of the attempts of having cities regulate the Second Amendment, I would not be in favor of. So as Second Amendment reigns and the rest is could be removed accordingly.
So
That would be
Look at the-
so if others, you could weigh in on, but I certainly not into the city then micromanaging, like some of our larger cities in the country do. It's like, no thanks.
So I did have, I have a couple state statutes. One is 1812-214, which grants local governments the authority to enact an ordinance, resolution, rule, and or regulation that prohibits the permitted form carrying a concealed weapon into a building or not. But it doesn't stop us from removing the ordinance. So we have the ability to just
More restrictive
we're
ordinance.
more restrictive than the state. So if we just go to the state statute, we're in line with the state.
Yeah.
We can't, and the state won't allow us to make something less
Right.
lenient. So
Okay.
if we just go with the state statutes
And just,
and,
Then we
But, I
just
mean, we
remove, we just remove, and we don't even have to go to the state statute.
right, if we
I mean,
remove it.
Then
if-
by
if-
default,
right,
it'll
it
go to state
defaults
statute.
to the state
Yep.
statute. So that was my
Delete.
suggestion, was to just
Delete,
remove it.
yeah.
so just get that ready for 30 days from now.
Delete it 30 days from now.
Yeah, pretty much.
So staff, do you have the direction that you need?
Yes,
from
to
the council?
repeal section 9.7.4.0. We'll start drafting the ordinance.
I'll put you on the
Thank you.
spot. That's a pretty simple thing to do, I would think.
I would think.
Just delete.
Do you,
We could do it for the next meeting.
wait,
That's
do you want to do it
It's
March
rescind-
17th or
it's
do you want to do it
rescind.
April 21st, which is the second meeting in April? I heard April 30th, but we can talk with Chief Daisler.
Well,
We could
if he's
cer-
going to enforce it, we might as well make it easy for him to have something to not enforce.
So.
I mean, if we're all agreed.
How about we
So can we just
Yeah.
put this on the
Put it on the
schedule?
next
We'll bring it,
agenda.
we'll,
So March 3rd, because
Yeah.
Catherine and I are saying just bring it
Bring
forward.
it forward.
Yeah,
March 3rd.
Oh, two of you were saying bring it forward. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
March
So-
3rd.
Yeah.
Maybe we leave with the staff to prepare the ordinance, talk with the new police chief, see what everything looks like, and bring it to us at the next meeting. That is, they
We-
can prepare it.
Yes.
Does that
Very
work?
We-
wise suggestion.
we will
Yes.
do it either March 3rd or March 17th.
Perfect.
How's that?
Thank you.
It's not fixed.
Thank you, council.
Irishman.
Anything else?
Thank
Council?
you.
St. Patrick's Day, because there'll be somebody drinking that day for sure.
What's that?
Best
Anything
council report ever.
That's awesome.
Okay,
Catherine, we need you
okay,
to
let's wind
continue to
up.
go through the
Anything else,
You want
Catherine?
me to keep going through the municipal code? I can probably do that. No, that's all I've got for,
We could
that's all I've
save
got for
some money
tonight.
on Logan Simpson.
Rusty. your
Yes, I
report.
do have a committee report from the Historical Preservation Committee that met on February 7th at 3:30. Three items of interest. The Newmont mine came through with their $5,000 grant for the asbestos abatement from Woodland Station.
Excellent.
So money is in the bank for that piece, where we voted to provide a piece of that funding, and the DDA voted to bring a piece of it so that the full amount was covered. So we are continuing to move forward with the Woodland Station, and eventually, hopefully, we have a little museum in there. Number two, the interpretive panels for the COG car are on track. They are due to be complete by the end of this month, and those will be the panels that will be placed on this the city's property, but adjacent to the COG car, which gives the interpretation of the history of the COG. And then the last thing is the HPC will be asking council. So this is a heads up, but when you hear the date, we have lots of time to think about it. They'll be asking council to support the designation effort for the Pikes Peak Ocean to Ocean Highway, including the addition of the Cristola Bridge being added to the National Registry. Now, this bridge is on the old Cristola Road, which is Teller County 21. And this will be a recognition occurring on the 110th anniversary of the federal recognition of the Ocean to Ocean Highway, which will take place in 2025. But they are working and looking ahead. We did discuss it, and I wanted to advise you that we will be seeking some support for that 2025 effort.
Well, isn't it missing a little part in there somewhere? Don't we have like a gap in that highway trail thing?
Well, the whole trail has been recognized nationally. We're getting our bridge added to the National Register in time for the 2025 110th big gala event that's being conducted at the national level.
Okay. And is it a bridge to nowhere? Is it costing us anything?
Well, that bridge actually is a bridge to nowhere, but it is very interesting bridge. I mean, it's over 100 years old, and it's withstood, and it's been rated and evaluated as in almost new condition. It's incredible engineering feat. The HPC has some really fun facts that you learn about the history of Woodland Park. So as Linda was saying, she's learned a lot. I've learned a lot about the history of Woodland Park. And that concludes my
Thank you,
liaison
Rusty.
report.
Mr. Zuluaga, anything from you?
Thank you. I have two things. One is PPACG. We're doing a lot of monitoring of legislative bills coming through the state House and Senate. We've opposed a number of them. We're monitoring some that we're concerned about. There's a lot of stuff happening in Denver that we're trying, it's like we're trying to protect our region, and there's some stuff coming down that we can't stop. So anyway, we're monitoring that. But on a local level, I want to say that the Moose is Loose Festival is happening Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and the following Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Speaking of the Cog Car, the Moose is going to be at the Cog Car on Saturday, starting at 10 o'clock. So if you are wanting to go out and support your local business, Moose is Loose is on.
And I do have a small correction. The flyer does say the Cog Car. If he happens to wander over there, that's great. But officially, it's at Bergstrom Station.
There we have it. Come out, have fun, no matter where it is. Thanks, that's all.
Thank you. City Attorney.
The only thing I have is, did Jeff, he said he was gonna send you a joke, but did he?
Oh, gee whiz, you. I'll
Not to give more
stall
airtime to
and I'll
Counselor
look. Okay,
Zulaga.
Yeah.
But that's, that's all I have. It's great to be here. That's all
Can
I
we
have.
reserve the time for a couple of more seconds?
City Manager, while Robert is looking.
And you need to do it now. You need to.
I thought Chief Lambert parted his hair very nicely for the evening.
Does that count as your dad joke for the evening?
Can it?
Yes, it can.
I'm
Do I
sorry,
need
he
another
didn't
one?
come through. He did not come through. Do we have any dad jokes that we could kind of
Here,
fill in with?
I actually have one.
Oh, you've got one.
I know, it's very rare that I have clean jokes.
I know, I don't know how that works. so.
I have a ton that
I
I
don't
can
have
tell,
any
just
clean
not
jokes.
appropriate. What's blue and smells like red paint?
Blue paint.
You know, because you're
Blue
a dad
paint.
jokers.
Blue and smells like red paint?
Blue paint.
Robert, I mean, Michael.
I have some time jokes. No, go on.
So I don't know if you all knew, but frogs drive cars. I don't know if you've seen this. I have. And so sometimes, like all of our cars, the cars stop working. So what do you call it when a frog's car stops working? Or what happens when a frog's car stops working? It needs a jump. What happens if you try jumping in and you can't get it to start? Yeah, it has to be towed. That'll teach you to not get the joke. Please adjourn the meeting now.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you.
What do you call it when you put a clock under your desk?
What?
Working overtime.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you were thoroughly entertained. This meeting's adjourned.
If you were, we'll do worse next time.